The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Yo, what up? This is Rocky Asuka Romero of Chaos, and you are listening to Keepin It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the ace of podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the ace of podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy, Donovan, and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in Barrio the Frogs. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here alongside the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be reviewing King of Pro Wrestling and covering all the latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns at socialsuplex.com. Go to socialsuplex.com/subscribe to sign up to get the podcast and columns delivered directly to your email inbox. Also, make sure to check out our friends at pureresuroad.com for some great Puro columns and articles. Also want to give some quick shout-outs to our buddy Floyd Johnson Jr.
What up, Floyd?
He is the co-host of the Around the Ring podcast and the Indie Wrestling Radio podcast with our buddy Jordan Fox, the Sly One. Those guys have been doing great work, and they've been putting our podcast over a lot, so I want to return the favor. You know, we met both those guys at Chicago for All In. Great dudes. Just want to put their stuff over. Again, that's Around the Ring and the Indie Wrestling Radio. Also, shout out to Wilfred from Wilfred Watches podcast. He's been putting us over as well, and I think sometime in the future we're gonna, try and get something set up where we do some guest stuff on each other's podcasts to talk about the thing we love, New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Put us over, baby. Put us over.
Yes, we love it when you guys put us over. But all three of those guys.
Cody up in here, dude. No jobs.
All those guys are doing great works on their respective podcasts. If you're looking for more wrestling podcasts to listen to, definitely check out all three of those shows. So, yeah, man. How you doing, young boy?
Oh, man, I am feeling like a young boy. Let me just tell you guys, I was in the gym just now. Jeremy was in there with me. He had me doing Hindu squats. He had me doing lunges. He had me doing wall sits.
I was beating him with the stick.
He was beating me with the stick mercilessly. Guys, I just got to let you know, it's my fault that we're coming to you with the late edition of Keeping It Strong Style. We're still the Ace of Podcasts, but we floundered a bit this week due to some unforeseen personal issues with yours truly. I postponed the show for a day. It wasn't because of the timing of the Monday show or anything like that. I literally was just like, Jeremy, got some stuff I got to deal with. Let's push it tomorrow. And my co-host here was gracious enough to let me do that. I do apologize, guys. Usually we don't come to you so late in the week. Who knows? Maybe if the numbers go up, this will be our new time slot. I don't know.
I know we're kind of stepping on Ricky and Clive's toes. They're the one on the Wednesday slot.
They don't matter.
Shout out to Reddit user Harrison G. Hit me up today. He's like, is everything okay with you guys? Like, I'm looking forward to your King of Pro Wrestling review. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my gosh. So I know that there's a lot of different podcasts out there. Dave's been stepping on our toes, and different podcasts that have given their take on this. So I do feel bad that we got this one out a little bit later. I think this is one of the I think in the whole, how long, we've been doing this almost a year. Mm-hmm. It's one of the first times we've come this late. So hopefully we've got enough equity with you guys that you stick with us and you kind of forgive the misstep. But it was for good reason, I assure you. But that's why Jeremy was beating me in the gym. And he was just, working me mercilessly. He had me doing squats with him on my shoulders. It was like a Rocky scene, I swear to God. Yeah, and I'm still not anabolic state right now, so I don't know like if I'm exhausted or if I'm hyped. Like I feel like my blood pressure's still going. Like I'm ready to do this.
Let's do this thing.
And we got a lot to talk about this week, we got to jam through this one.
Yeah, so we're gonna try and get through this as quickly as possible here.
We never go over our time. Never.
Well, we don't have time because we run the network, so
we book the territory.
We
boys,
booked this territory,
and we're going over.
So we are going to review King of Pro Wrestling today. Before we jump into that, there's a question I think it'd be good to kind of kick it off with. It comes from Reddit user Templar235, and he says, "What do you guys think about the complaints of the company's supposed new direction? Office employees being fired, the Western booking, catering too much to American fans, etc."
Yeah, thank you for the question, by the way. That's a great question. I think that this has been the talk of the town and, the talk of the IWC and the New Japan, Reddit and, different groups. And there's a lot of unrest amongst, fans of this product. Yeah, so I mean, before we even give an answer to that is something that's been reported on. I think Dave Meltzer was the one who kind of broke the news that there's been some, some unsettledness in the New Japan locker room just because with them bringing Harold Mai into the as the president of New Japan, I guess what was the main reason for him was like international expansion.
Right, they brought him in, for doing the international expansion.
So I mean, with that, there've been some changes in personnel. Nothing has been reported about anyone specifically, but apparently there's been layoffs, and it's basically kind of like a new regime.
Right. And
a lot of the wrestlers are kind of upset about this sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they've been going so good for this current streak they've kind of been on. It's like, why would you change things up? And I get it. You have a new guy comes in. He's going to bring his people in with him. Mm-hmm. But again, we don't know what positions were let go. I mean, we don't even know technically if Gato is still the key booker in charge. I mean, we have no idea.
Yeah, we don't have any specifics, but I mean, the fact that it's being reported, I'm sure that the talk is in the locker room. There are some things I noticed, like for instance, obviously, like Archer's not spitting the water anymore.
Right.
But then there's been things where like they talked about going in a PG direction and cutting down on, the language, and then some of that stuff just never happened.
Right. I mean, we're still language, there's still middle fingers, there's still Tama Tonga pulling the camera to his crotch.
It leads me to believe that was never a real thing.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that we kind of talked about on the show at the time was I was like, it could just be an angle. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I think if it was really a real directive from, the top down, then it would actually be followed. And I think it's something that was put out there as more to get people talking or just to kind of, gain interest into the possibility of a change like that. I'm not sure the thinking on exactly, but I think the fact that it's kind of persisted is an indicator that it's not a real thing, at least in my opinion.
Right, and it could be one of those things where it was discussed in the meeting, what do you guys think about trying to, go back on cursing and, being more PG, and then somebody just leaked that and was like, oh, this was talked about today, but it was never, finalized, you know what I mean?
I do think that it is worth noting, if sometimes you want to go with what brought you to the dance, and obviously the hot streak that they've been on over the last 5-6 years in New Japan, it does make you wonder why obviously you bring a new guy and there's going to be changes, but it does make you wonder why, if something brought you success, why you would change things up. Now at the same time, there's money to be made in the West.
Yes.
There's no denying that. Expansion is something that is vital to the success of New Japan. But I think for fans of, this product, they are concerned about the idea that it gets westernized, which I think if you have been drawn to this product or you've been watching it for any length of time and you truly enjoy it, that's not something you want to see happen. I think that's where a lot of these complaints are coming from.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, a lot of people were down on this King of Pro Wrestling show and down on a lot of the key matches and storylines going into this thing.
I think it's been down, in my opinion, since Dominion, since Harold Meij. And I wasn't even, when I said that, I wasn't even thinking of the fact that he came into the company on that exact event.
Yeah, since he ran down to the ring.
Yeah, since he came down like the Ultimate Warrior, ready to make a run. Yeah, but ever since that time, there have been key changes, and coincidentally, Kenny Omega's title reign began at that exact same point. I'm not shifting the blame to Kenny specifically, but I mean, you know, when people talk about Westernization and they talk about the Bullet Club and they talk about the, you know, these storylines with Jay White and everything like that, I think that's what they're talking about. You know what I mean? Right. And I don't think it is a coincidence that they put the belt on Cody and then on Kenny, and that Harold Meij took over. And then, I mean, the G1, even though there's a lot to be praised about it, there's a lot of things that hindsight's 2020. But now that we're at King of Pro Wrestling, I'm looking back and I'm like, maybe they shouldn't have done this. Maybe they shouldn't have done that. Maybe, you know what I mean? Some of these decisions are very, very questionable. And I think it's been culminating with a lot of the things that we've been talking about, you know, the how long, and this has kind of always been the case, but in the past they've overcome it by having great booking. But, you know, the fact that they're announcing shows a week ahead of time, and, you know, the main event of this card, the way that it was built and the way that it was booked, which is less than stellar, I think that all those things matter. And then this kind of bloated, convoluted Bullet Club storyline. And yeah, I mean, obviously the fact that there's almost all Gaijin champions right now is another thing that people are pointing to.
Yeah. You know, I gotta say, overall, I'm not as down as I think a lot of our peers are on New Japan right now. What's the current direction? You know, I'm still enjoying the product. Overall, I thought King of Pro Wrestling was a great show. I enjoyed it from top to bottom. There was a few things that I kind of question or might have like complaints or criticism about, but overall, you know, it was a thumbs up for me. You know, I'm looking forward to you know, a lot of the events that are coming up. You know, we got the Super Junior Tag League coming up, World Tag League coming up. You know, eventually Wrestle Kingdom, and I mean, I think, you know, a lot of the stuff they're building for Wrestle Kingdom it's looking good to me.
In some ways, yes, and then in other ways, no. And I think we'll kind of touch on it more as we go over the show. But I think, you know, people don't watch this for it to be westernized. Like, Japanese fans aren't watching it for that. And then people who've been fans of it in the West, I think that the problem is there's this perception that people over here are not actually New Japan fans, they're Bullet Club fans, and they're kind of catering to that, and they think that that's the demographic in the market. There could be some truth to that, absolutely, but at the end of the day, what brought them to the dance was presenting a Japanese product,
right?
And I don't think that should be changed. I think if you start making it like ROH Light or even like a WWE sort of esque thing. I mean, we've seen what that's done to companies like ROH and Impact in the past and WCW. It spells disaster, you know. And this is this is like the alternative that's out there. I mean, obviously there's a lot of great wrestling across the globe, but I mean, people watch this because they want the authentic New Japan Pro Wrestling product.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you water it down, I mean, it's going to be disastrous, honestly. So, I mean, I'm not ready to throw up the white flag or walk away from this. I'm not like hand waving New Japan or anything, and they've built enough equity with me to where I can say, let's see where it goes. But there've been enough missteps this year where this is, I mean, out of the last 3 or 4 years, this is one where I've had a lot more questions about what they're doing, a lot more misgivings about what they're doing. And it's not to say that this year hasn't been good or had high points, but I mean, like I said, ever since Dominion,
there's been a lot of questionable stuff.
It's been very questionable.
Honestly, for me, you know, the one thing I would say to people who are completely down on it, I mean, you know, we're kind of going in kind of a slow period right now with these 2 tag leagues coming up. Wrestle Kingdom's coming up. Let's see what the full Wrestle Kingdom card is. Let's see what the full direction for Wrestle Kingdom is. Let's see what the direction for MSG is, to kind of see what's the real direction the company is going in.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, I'm excited, though. Let's get into this show, and we'll talk more about it.
All right, so the card opened up with the junior tag title match. Kanemaru and Desperado defending the junior heavyweight tag team championships against Jushin Thunder Liger and Tiger Mask.
Yeah, and this show had an attendance of 9,152. They were in, Ryogoku?
Yes.
So, I mean, that was slightly down from last year, but kind of in line with what they've done in the past. But one thing that I think that's questionable about that is they sold out Budokan several times during the G1. We talked about how profitable their first half of the year is, and I think that some of these complaints that people are talking about, I don't think they're totally unfounded. When over the past year, this company has consistently outdrawn what they've done in the past, and then they come here for what's supposed to be, almost an A show. I'm starting to think maybe it's not anymore, but in the past, what's been an A show, and they do less than they did the year before. I think that's kind of telling about. I'm not saying it's like a death sign, but I don't think that's a good sign, especially considering how Dominion did, how Wrestle Kingdom did, how Sakura Genesis did, the G1, all that. I think that is a very telling thing right there.
Yeah.
And I put more stock in that than remember when people were putting a lot of stock into the first night of the G1 and all that.
Oh yeah.
I think that this is way more telling than that is. So I think that's worth noting. But this match was set up by what was the event last month?
Was it wow, I'm blanking right now. It wasn't Fighting Spirit, only Destruction.
Yeah, the Destruction Tour. So on the Destruction Tour,
Jushin Thunder Liger and Tiger, they got the surprise win on Kanemaru and Desperado. Gave them a tag title match here. This was a good opening match. Kanemaru and Desperado, I enjoyed it. They were in full Suzuki-gun mode. They jumped, put these both in the jump zone right before the match even started. Jumped them on the way to the ring.
Yeah.
A lot of underhand tactics and cheating, just showing how desperate Desperado and Kanemaru were to retain the titles and go into this tag league as the champions.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get to. I mean, obviously, we see Liger and Tiger Mask quite a bit throughout the year, but we don't get to see them in actual positions doing things of note. Obviously, Tiger Mask's big highlight of the year was his Super Junior run in the first half of the tournament. But I mean, with Liger, unless he's wrestling overseas, he doesn't do too much. So it was really kind of cool to see a show like this open up with the title match involving Liger. Unfortunately, they did get jumped, like you mentioned. And then when the match first started, they immediately go to the whole trying to take off the mask spot. Yeah. Which they've been doing that,
for a while now.
Yeah, it's been going on for a long time. But this match was super energetic.
Yeah, I thought that Tiger and Liger worked really hard on this match.
Yeah.
Both of those guys are up there, but, they still have the capability to put on a good match. They still have the skill set and can still go.
I mean, dude, you know how much I loved the Kanemaru and Tiger Mask match from the Super Juniors.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm the only one, but I loved that match. You saw a lot of shenanigans in this match again. It's typical, Suzuki-gun stuff. Nothing where it's too eye-rolling, but the ref bumps and the Satori whiskey and all that sort of thing. But I thought that they told a good match. Told a good story. I didn't think this match overstayed its welcome. 10 minutes, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And then, it takes us to the finish, basically.
Yeah, so Kanemaru hits Liger with the whiskey bottle, a low blow on Tiger, then Desperado hits the Pinche Loco, and they get the win, and they retain the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships.
Yeah, so, I thought that this was kind of interesting because I thought it was a good way to kind of... We've been wondering when Kanemaru and Desperado were going to defend these titles again, but... We've also been talking about the state of the junior division where there's not a lot of challengers and you're like, Roppongi 3K?
Yeah.
And it's kind of too early for that given their history. You think that I think that they have a better match than all the ones they've had in the past and we're building towards that. So, this was a good placeholder, a good way to get Liger and Tiger Mask involved. And it was a really good opener. And, I don't think that the win was ever in doubt unless you thought Suzuki-gun was going to drop these titles and then win them right back.
Right.
Or something like that. But, No, I thought this told a good story, and I think it was the right way to go.
Yeah.
Real interesting, the fact that Kanemaru and Desperado have been holding on to these titles for quite a while.
Yeah, in previous years, the junior tag titles are usually, hot potatoed, usually from show to show.
We were sort of fearing that in the beginning of the year when they started doing that quite a bit.
Roppongi 3K and the Young Bucks.
And then they turned around and put it on these guys, and we're like, oh my God, like, what's happening?
Right.
And we're like, oh yeah, go ahead.
But then they've kept the titles now. It's been 4 or 5 months. They've been the champions now.
Yeah, so I mean, for people that are kind of, on the whole New Japan, hot potatoes, the junior titles, well, I mean, you kind of have to take that argument away because they haven't done that this year. But on the other side of things, they haven't defended it a lot either.
Right.
So, I mean, that's another thing, too. But, we're getting ready to go into the Junior Tag League. So, this was a good setup for that, good preview, and, off we go.
Yep. So, the next matchup was the former U.S. champion Juice Robinson teaming up with Toa Hanare to take on Great Bash Heel, Honma, and Makabe. This was a, alright tag match here. Obviously, they're setting up for World Tag League. I'm going to guess that Great Bash Heel, Honma, and Makabe will be one of the teams in the World Tag League this year. I'm sure Juice will be in. I don't think Hanare will be his partner. I would assume David Finlay would be Juice's partner in the World Tag League.
You don't think they're bringing back Sami Callihan?
I don't know.
No Death Juice?
Well, it's funny. David Finlay was on the Wilfred Watches podcast that I mentioned earlier, and mentioned that originally it was supposed to be Juice and David Finlay last year in the World Tag League. They ordered matching gear and everything, and were ready to go. And then last minute they brought in Sami Callihan. So as of right now, David was saying the plan.
Finessed.
Yes, they got finessed. As of right now, the plan is for Finlay and Juice, I think, to team again, but who knows? They could pull something again last minute.
Well, Juice finally decided to break out some new gear after he lost the U.S. title, kind of looking like Macho Man.
Yeah. I like the new gear.
I did too. And you know what? A lot of people were kind of down on this for whatever reason. I thought this was pretty good.
Yeah.
For a New Japan tag.
I mean, Juice and Hanare, both of those guys, they work really hard. Honma is still, trying to get his bearings. But, Makabe is always a pretty solid worker as well. A lot of great exchanges between these guys, a lot of great strikes. Makabe, he does have a great little comeback and fire up. I like his lariats. They had a nice little combo finish with the Kokeshi and the King Kong knee drop. Great Bash Heel, they're ready for World Tag League.
Yeah, so, I mean, I gotta say, though, Honma, and we keep kind of touching on it, I worry about him, man. Yeah. I worry about him. He seemed to be moving a little bit better, but there was one point at the end of the match where
he was kind of bumbling, right?
Yeah, he was on the ground bumbling, and I didn't think it was either he's the fantastic seller or there was something wrong. Yeah. Because he couldn't get up, and it looked really, really strange the way he was moving. For a second, I actually got scared. It kind of reminded me of Paige when she got hurt, and she was trying to get up, but she couldn't pick herself up. And I was like, dude, I talked about how, our fellow podcasters, Super J-Cast, they'd mentioned that he doesn't seem to be using his left arm hardly at all. Mm-hmm. And that still seems to be the case. I mean, if you really, really pay attention, this guy's hardly using it. I mean, it's telegraphed to a point where it's obvious. So, I mean, I'm still concerned, but obviously these guys are two-time World Tag League winners. Yeah, I think 2014, 2015. Mm-hmm. So I could have those years wrong. I'm not sure, but it would make sense that that's something that they're probably going to have them go at it in the World Tag League. But they might even be building them up for title contention in the near future. We don't know.
Yeah, and poor Toa Hanare, Makabe was his partner last year in the tag league, and Makabe kind of took him under his wing, but now Hun was back. He's kind of threw Toa to the side.
I think, we'll see. We'll see how Hanare, fares in the future. I mean, before we move on, let's talk about Juice for a second. I mean, what are your thoughts, man?
Dude,
what are you feeling like?
This is kind of one of the things that I do have a problem with the booking. I feel like they've completely dropped the ball with Juice Robinson. They have been building this whole underdog story, and his build has been a slow build where he starts picking up momentum. He starts getting some key wins, and it all kind of built up to him winning the U.S. Championship at the Cow Palace. And so from there, I was expecting them to give him a little bit of a run with the title. He's one of the top full-time Gaijin guys they have. So I was expecting him to have at least a couple defenses before they drop the belt from him. But now he dropped the belt, and now he's back into opening card tag matches.
Now there seemed to be, given the post-match interview that Cody did after he won the U.S. title back in Long Beach, it seemed like they might potentially be building towards a rematch. But then again, thinking about it, we don't know if that is the case, because many times these wrestlers just go off what they feel, and they don't know ahead of time exactly what the booking... I mean, maybe Cody does know, I don't know.
Right.
But they don't know necessarily if him and Juice are going to do business again at the Tokyo Dome, and it really depends on how they book him between now and then.
I know Juice's whole thing, I don't know if you heard him on commentary, he walked by Kevin Kelly, he was like, back to square one. So pretty much, that's what it feels like. It's like
it feels like he pushed a boulder up the hill, and now it's
falling back on him.
Yeah, and it's like, how many times is this guy gonna have to do this? And I don't know. I've heard people talking about, like, could he be leaving? I know in the past he said no, but like there's rumblings that might be a possibility.
Right.
We reported earlier in the year WWE's highly interested in him, and he's a star in the making. It would just be unfortunate if New Japan's the one who made him, and then he leaves and actually gets utilized. Not saying he would be utilized correctly by WWE. They tend to misuse guys, but there's no doubt he would make more money and get more visibility.
Just be back in his home country.
Yeah, so I really think like he was a young lion, man. When people talk about the Westernization of New Japan, I really don't think that they're talking about Juice.
Right, because he went through the dojo system like any other young boy, and he's been working his way up just like everybody else does.
I hope that they give him his win back against Cody, because then, can you imagine Cody holding the NWA belt and the U.S. title for a prolonged period?
Right.
I don't know that is going to happen, but...
we'll see what happens. The NWA 70th anniversary show is coming up. He might drop
that crap right back to Nick Aldis and then have a reign with this thing, but I don't know, man. I think after given his G1 run and then what they did with him and Cody, they really hurt Juice. And I'm not one who's quick to say like, oh, they buried a guy, but his stature's definitely hurt. And
right. To me, it's like if you weren't planning on giving him somewhat of a push, he shouldn't have won the U.S. title.
Yeah, it does. But, we've talked about like, oh, his story's so compelling and everything. And it's like, maybe they thought, hey, we paid it off and we go from there. But it's like, no, we see this guy as the real deal. We see him as like a future star.
Right.
Maybe we're jumping the gun a bit, but it does feel right now like this is not good. Yeah. So we'll see.
So the next matchup we had Bullet Club Elite, the Young Bucks, Chase Owens and Hangman Page taking on the Bullet Club OGs, Bad Luck Fale, Taiji Ishimori, Tangaloa, and Tama Tonga. What are your thoughts upon this 8-man tag here?
Yeah, so this was like decent. It was overall like, I guess, a good tag match. But I don't know, man. I guess at this point we need to just discuss the whole feud. And this is one of the big things about when we start talking about the Westernization of New Japan and what this actually is. And you have some hot takes on this for sure.
Yeah, so you know me, I'm a big Young Bucks fan, big Bullet Club fan. But overall, man, like, I think the story is kind of run its course a little bit. I feel we're at the point now, like, there should not be 2 Bullet Clubs.
Absolutely.
Like the whole crescendo of this story should have been 2 separate groups forming. One keeps the Bullet Club name, one keeps the other. So I'm at the point now, either you have the OGs be the Bullet Club and you have Kenny and Company be the Elite, or you have Kenny and Company be the Bullet Club and the Tongans are the Firing Squad. Like,
I think it was interesting in the beginning of the year when Cody jumped Kenny, and then we were like, well, what's going to happen? And then we were like, well, where do the Tongans stand? And I would have liked to see more firm lines drawn at that point. to lead to an actual faction warfare.
Right.
Instead, we got these prolonged periods where nothing was happening, and then most of the story was carried by being the elite. Then it became like, oh, well, we're actually all good. It's just Kenny and Cody have a problem. And then that got prolonged, and just we had 2 matches, one in April, and then the next one happened, in July?
Right.
It took forever to get to the point. I think it's been too dragged out. And I think back then we were like, well, part of the problem is the marketing, because the Bullet Club logo, obviously it's owned by New Japan, but that is such a marketable thing. We were like, I can't see either of these 2 teams splitting from
dropping that Bullet Club logo. I mean, if you think about, for Western fans, the Bullet Club is like the Young Bucks, Kenny, Cody, Hangman, and Skrull. A lot of like newer fans that follow the Bullet Club kind of forget about the OG guys, and they're making mad money. Hot Topic, Pro Wrestling Tees, YoungBucksMerch.com. They're making so much money using this Bullet Club logo.
A lot of that's off their stuff, though. Obviously they do get something from the Bullet Club, but I remember reading in the past that, it's what they actually get from it is pretty insignificant compared. New Japan's taking the lion's share of it, obviously. At the time, I remember we talked about this at the beginning of the year, where I was like, to me, the Bullet Club is not the elite. To me, it was the original guys. It was Tama Tonga. It was Bad Luck Fale. And at the time, I was pushing for them to. I was like, dude, give Tama a chance. And then they gave him a chance, and it floundered.
Right.
And it was like, God, what are they gonna do? Because I'm like, well, where's this gonna lead? My big complaint now is we're at King of Pro Wrestling. This all started in July?
Yeah.
What time? It's October. We should have been done had something happened between.
Right. That's my problem too. Like, there's no we'll talk about it. We're gonna talk about it later. But they're they're moving on now, and we still don't have a resolution with this story.
No. We had that one crappy Tama match with Kenny, and there's a lot you can say about the OG Bullet Club's run through. The G1 and all that, and how it got here, but I don't think it was good booking, honestly.
Yeah.
And they're looking somewhat dominant now. They've got both tag titles and that sort of thing, and obviously we'll talk about what occurred with the team later, but I'm just like, okay, well, now at this point it's become more bloated, and I don't want to see it. Back in July, when the jump initially happened, I was all in on this. I was like, they took one turn and did another one, and I'm all about it. This is freaking great. And then nothing happened, and we've been sitting on our hands waiting, and now we're getting this. And it's like, this was fine. You know what I mean? Yeah. This was fine, but...
I think they kind of dropped the ball on having Cody stick with the elite guys.
Maybe. I don't really have a problem with that one way or the other, although it didn't make too much sense that him and Kenny just made up like that when it was such a big feud.
Yeah, I beat you, now we're cool.
Yeah, that didn't really make a lot of sense, but at the same time, he's in with those guys, obviously.
Right. And obviously going into All In, he had to be a babyface going into that.
But I think that this is something where the longtime fans of New Japan and those who are kind of like a little bit gatekeeper they're looking at this and they're like, what is this? And I don't think that this is drawing big business. I don't think it's drawing outside fans. I don't think if I was a fan of WWE and I turn on this product and I see this, that I'm going to be super invested or interested in it. And you brought up a good point. There should be some sort of division between them, but I'm just like, it's kind of like they just moved a couple pieces around and it's the same crap. Nothing really, really changed. Right. And it's like, why am I invested in this? I'm really not.
Right.
I'm really not at all, to be honest with you. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, and we'll touch on them.
And it wasn't a bad match.
Yeah,
and the OG Bullet Club went over. Obviously, they told the story of Matt's back kind of giving out again, and they separated these guys and did all that. But ultimately, this just I don't even know if I care about this at this point.
Right. And I will say this real quick. Once you get the Young Bucks, when they're in a match, it's gonna be good, man. These guys, they're great wrestlers. Any match I've seen them in, even like silly like 6-man stuff like on Ring of Honor when they're facing like, you know, Bear City Bruiser, the Bouncers, and Silas Young, man, they have some just great matches no matter who they're in there with.
I mean, I think everybody came off good. I mean, like Bad Luck Fale kind of shines in these sorts of matches, being like the big, you know, guy. When everybody gangs up on him, he takes the big bumps. It makes sense. Tama Tonga and Tangaloa kind of thrive in these short bursts, and obviously Ishimori's fantastic, and Chase and Hangman are great too. So I mean, it was a good match.
Yeah.
I just can't really be like, oh, it was really, really good, I'm into this, because I'm not.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure we'll see some more stuff from both of these guys, from both of these teams in World Tag League.
And it's like Power Struggle's coming up. We already have the card for that, and it's like,
well, the full cards. I think there's still gonna be some more matches announced later. I think.
No, the full card's out.
Full card's out for Power. Okay.
We'll talk about it later, but yeah, I mean, the full card's out. So I mean, and it doesn't seem like this is something that's gonna be resolved anytime soon. And I'm like, when will it be?
Yeah.
You know, is this leading all the way to Wrestle Kingdom?
Right.
And it seems like maybe yes, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next match. We have the Chaos team of Will Ospreay, Hiroki Goto, and Tomohiro Ishii taking on the Suzuki-gun team of Isuka, Taichi, and Minoru Suzuki. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, so this was pretty good. Obviously, they kind of paired off the guys that are getting ready to feud with one another. So, I mean, there's a lot of people who were starting to hypothesize that Will Ospreay was going to challenge Taichi for the Never title. And we'd kind of gotten some teases to something to that effect earlier in the year. Taichi was talking about how he was going to go on a slew of defenses against the juniors, and Will's been talking about going up to heavyweight, so that kind of made a lot of sense. And then, you know, with Ishii and Suzuki, they've got a match coming up against one another this coming weekend for the Rev Pro title.
Global Wars show. And
then Goto and Iizuka are kind of like the odd men out. So, I mean, this was fine. They went about 12 minutes. It was solid. It was, you know, your standard Suzuki-gun match. I thought Ishii and Suzuki's interactions were really, really, really good, just like they always are.
Yeah.
And then Ospreay was fantastic in this, and he made Taichi relevant and interesting. And yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
And obviously the big story here, Ospreay hits the Stormbreaker on Taichi and pins him. So a junior pins a heavyweight, and Ospreay sold this amazingly. He sold it like he just won the lotto. Like, I can't believe, you know, I pinned a heavyweight, I pinned a champion. This puts me in contention for the Never Openweight title. And we had some questions involving this match. Our Social Suplex brother, James Boyd, co-host of One Nation Radio, he says that now that Ospreay is challenging for the Never title, is there any good reason why I can't get a Ibushi-Ospreay match at Wrestle Kingdom 13?
So, I mean, I do think that that's the direction that they're going. Otherwise, why do the whole tease of, you know, give me
Ibushi?
Yeah, give me Ibushi, and Ibushi wanting to face Will Ospreay. And we had kind of talked at the time, would that happen? How is that going to happen? And this does seem like
this is the perfect way for it to happen.
Yeah, this is the route you would want to go if that's what you're looking to do. And we've thrown out that statistic earlier in the year that whoever usually is in the finals of the G1 and loses, they always face somebody for a title.
Right.
And we're like, who's he going to face for the Never title? Because it's like, is he going to be involved in the IC picture, the US picture? That doesn't seem right.
Right.
So the Never title does seem like where he'd go. And I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. But if that is the case, poor Taichi.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, good riddance, because I mean, I know there's a lot of people that like him, and I've been somewhat impressed with him this year. I'm not like a Taichi homer, but man, that match with Goto sucked. And I think I loved it when Will Ospreay beat him. And I mean, that's the kind of character he's the guy that you get comeuppance on. So I mean, I am looking forward to their match.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe Ospreay can get like a banger out of him.
That's my thinking. I think that Will Ospreay might be able to get a really good match out of Taichi.
So another question here from Reddit user Top Wishbone. He says, if Ospreay beats Taichi for the title and challenges Ibushi at Wrestle Kingdom, is it a step down for Ibushi to be contesting for the Never belt? In other words, is the Never belt still considered prestigious? Does Ibushi being pinned by Kenny at King of Pro Wrestling completely throw away their rivalry? Why do you think they went with this option when everyone assumed that Cody was there to eat the pin? So we'll answer the Kenny stuff later, but to the Never Openweight belt, do you think this is a step down for Ibushi?
So yes and no.
I think no, and actually when I got this question, I kind of looked back at Ibushi's Wrestle Kingdom history, and he's kind of been not booked in the best positions the last couple of Wrestle Kingdoms. So you look back
I mean, there's the Nakamura match, obviously. Yeah, that's the first thing. I know listeners, right? I just want to throw it out there because I know listeners are like, well, the Nakamura match.
Right. Well, Wrestle Kingdom 12, you had Ibushi versus Cody. That was like the fourth match on the card.
That was a great match.
Yeah.
But, it at the time, Cody wasn't over, and it kind of felt like, what are they doing?
Right. And then that's a non-title match earlier in the card. Before, the Wrestle Kingdom before that, he was Tiger Mask W, wrestling ACH as Tiger the Dark. That was the second match on the card. That was Wrestle Kingdom 11. Wrestle Kingdom 10, I don't think he was even on the card.
No, he was gone. I was going to say he was in that gauntlet, but I guess he wasn't.
No, he was gone. And Wrestle Kingdom 9 was
was him and
Nakamura. So, and that was for the IC title. That was a semi-main. So from Wrestle Kingdom 9 to now, he's kind of gone up, his match has gone up the card instead of coming down. So honestly, this Never title match, usually the Never title match is usually like the 6th or 7th match on the card. So this is actually going to be an elevation for him based off the last couple of Wrestle Kingdoms.
So, I mean, in a sense, how many title matches has Ibushi had over the past few years? Like, he had the IC title challenge against Tanahashi. And then, he wrestled AJ Styles a few years back for the IWGP title. I don't know if he's ever challenged for the Never title.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and obviously he had a run with the junior title back in the day when he was, with DDT as well as New Japan. But since that time, I don't think he's had a singles title. So in a way, no, it's not. I mean, I understand why people would say that because he's featured at the top of the card. He was in the finals of the G1, that sort of thing. But at the same time, you've got to also keep in mind, he's unsigned.
Right.
And that's the key thing. He's not signed. And also, there's no guarantee, hypothetically speaking, if he faces Will Ospreay that he would even beat him.
Ospreay. Right. Ospreay is probably going to win.
Will Ospreay's a signed guy.
Right.
Ibushi's not. Ibushi might just come in there, have a banger, and elevate the guy and put him over and move on.
Right.
Now, if he did win the Never title, is that necessarily a step down? Not necessarily. I mean, look what
we'll
it did.
We'll have some great Never title matches next year.
Look what it did for Shibata.
Yeah.
When Shibata held that title. Shibata was a guy who elevated that belt like nobody since has been able to elevate it. So, I mean, that old adage, the title doesn't make the man, the man makes the title.
Yeah.
Is the Never title prestigious? No. It's not, and I don't think that it ever really was. I think probably its glory days were when Shibata did hold it. Obviously, Ishii's had some runs with it and Goto, but I mean, yeah, I don't think necessarily that it's so much about the fact that the Never title is prestigious as much as it is Ibushi holds a singles title in New Japan at the open weight or heavyweight, whatever you want to consider it.
Right. So we have another question here from Reddit user WhoDay42. He says, what do you see Suzuki doing at Wrestle Kingdom? Do you think there's any chance of him reaching a high singles title again, or do you see him slowly moving down the card?
I don't really see him moving down the card. I know that some people be inclined to think that based on his age, but I mean, he's Minoru Suzuki, man. He fits this role that nobody else in New Japan can possibly fill right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it would be much more likely, because he's a smart businessman, kind of like Jericho. He knows how to keep himself relevant and revitalized. If Suzuki wanted to, he could leave. If he needed to. He did that before with Noah. That's one reason I bring it up.
Right, when Suzuki-gun was banned from New Japan, they had to go to Noah.
Yeah. I mean, they say banned. I don't even know if he's banned. All I know is
I'm sure that was like just the kayfabe for it.
I don't know. Maybe I missed something, but all I know is he was having a banger match with Sakuraba in the Dome, and then he just disappeared, and then he was gone for 2 years. I don't know. But I mean, hypothetically, if this guy wanted to leave, he could go work Big Japan. He could work All Japan. He could work Noah, DDT, Dragon Gate. He could form a shoot promotion. I mean, right. He could go overseas. I mean, there's anything. Minoru Suzuki, he could go to Europe and just wrestle in European promotions.
Rep Pro, yeah. But what do you think? So obviously, he's probably going to be here till Wrestle Kingdom. What do you see Suzuki doing in Wrestle Kingdom?
No clue. What do you think?
It's hard because I mean, a lot of the singles title matches are kind of in place right now. I could potentially maybe him and Sabre or World Tag League. Maybe they get a tag title shot. Maybe they get a never 6-man title in the gauntlet.
I would almost want to say that you'd have to have a special singles match for Minoru Suzuki. I don't know who you'd do it with.
Yeah. Do you run back him and Goto?
Maybe.
You do him and Ishii? Maybe
I would love that, but we've seen it, if not in New Japan necessarily, but we've seen it quite a few times this year.
They're doing it again this weekend. I mean, if Ishii wins that belt back, they could do a return match for the title.
That's a possibility, and I mean, that would be fantastic for both of those guys. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's possibilities. For me, it's just too early to predict. I mean, God forbid, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up in one of those 6-man gauntlet matches, man. Yeah. I mean, they put Zack Sabre in one last year.
Right.
I really wouldn't be too surprised if they ended up doing something like that. But who knows? I mean, that's too tough a question for me, honestly. I don't see it yet.
All right, so next matchup, we had the Chaos team of Toru Yano, Kazuchika Okada, Sho, and Yo taking on Los Ingobernables de Japón, and they were debuting their new member, the 6th member of LIJ. So we had Naito, Sanada, and Bushi come down to the ring. We had this great promo video of them, playing
so cool
poker in a little casino and talking about LIJ and
APA days.
Yeah. Just looking so, all of them just, decked out, so much swag. And then, they introduce the 6th member guy comes out in this silver mask that we see in the promo videos.
So let's, before we discuss who it was, let's talk about the rumors, what you've been hearing, what your thoughts were, what my thoughts were. So I mean, let's start out some names you heard. Let's just how about we do this? We'll just say the names that we heard until we can't think of anyone else.
I mean, I heard Pac.
Okay, I heard Barbaro Cavernario.
I heard Roosh.
Joe Doring.
I mean, the only other name I did hear was the guy who it actually was.
Dragon Lee.
Yeah, Dragon Lee.
Also, by the way, Roosh is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life because
he's the leader of Los Ingobernables in Mexico.
That'd be like them. Yeah, they branched off of his. They're like, he's gonna be a full-time member, and it's that'd be like NWO Japan being like, we're gonna debut our new member, Hollywood Hulk Hogan. It's like, what? He founded the group. What are you saying?
Right.
He's the big boss. So that's really stupid. There was other people. People were talking about maybe it could have been Yo.
Oh yeah.
And that he could have switched over. There's people that were talking about maybe it would be Yoshida.
Yeah.
Or one of the young lions. People were talking about maybe Kawato would come back.
Or maybe Oka or somebody could come back, yeah.
There was a lot of names that were thrown out there. And I think a lot of fans were thinking that it needed to be a luchador, someone who had Mexican ties to fit with the theme of the group. But, I don't know. The fact that everybody in this group is Japanese and they're the only group in New Japan that has all Japanese people, it's the one thing that kind of sets them apart right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was a lot of names that were thrown out.
But there was one name thrown out, which was actually who this guy was. It ended up being Shingo Takagi.
And did I not say that that's who I thought it was going to be?
Yes, you did. You called it, man.
I mean, I don't want to take too much of a victory lap because I'm not the only one, and I think a lot of people. It was pretty obvious.
A lot of people were saying Shingo since him leaving Dragon Gate. I mean, he pretty much pulled an Ishimori, saying, "Oh, I want to be a freelancer now. JK, I'm going to New Japan."
Possibly. I've heard people talk about this and say, well, the reality is he could have actually let Dragon Gate know, and they didn't want to basically spoil the surprise, so maybe that's the way they did the release.
Right.
But, I mean, he was doing freelance work while he was with them for the last year or two, so, I mean, it's not too surprising. But, yeah, I mean, he came out here, and, I mean, he got one of the biggest pops of the night.
Yeah.
For sure.
And, a big thing about this too, 3 years ago, Evil joined LIJ in this at King of Pro Wrestling. Sonata joined the group in the same building. So it just made perfect sense to debut the new member here.
And he has ties to Naito.
They kind of came up together with some training.
Yep, and I mean they've been sharing pictures of each other online for years. So, I mean, he does somewhat fit the aesthetic of the group. So I mean, it just made a lot of sense that it would be him.
Yeah, and they're calling him the Dragon.
Yeah, so I mean, he's been called the Dragon before, so it's not the first time.
Yeah.
Once I saw that pop up, I was like, it's Shingo. It's for sure Shingo. So I mean, I was very excited that was the case because I mean, Shingo showing up, kind of like Taiji Ishimori showing up, just creates a lot of really cool scenarios. And this is one thing a lot of people are talking about, like, oh, New Japan's getting westernized, and some of those gripes are valid. But I mean, did you not see Shingo Takagi show up?
Right, yeah.
From freaking Dragon Gate?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, dude. Like, the ace of Dragon Gate, like, come on, dude.
Yeah. So this was a great tag team good tag team matchup.
How much more puro can you get than that?
Right, yeah. LIJ, we've talked about this several times on several episodes. They always work so well together. And with the new member Shingo, I feel like he fit right in and was working together with these guys.
Yeah, he usually wore like a singlet, so it was kind of weird to see him like with trunks. Kind of strange, but yeah, I mean, he looked great here. I felt like this was essentially a showcase match for Shingo.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen Chaos and LIJ battle it out over the past years, more so in the early part of the year, but this was good. It wasn't anything great, but I mean, Shingo definitely impressed, and I think he drew, eyes to him, and some people that might not have known him. It seemed like most of the people in the audience did know who he was, though.
Yeah. And so he gets the win for LIJ, hitting his awesome last falconry driver on Sho. I think there's going to be a rivalry between these guys, Shingo and Sho. They're both kind of power juniors. So I can see some stuff with them in the future.
In Dragon Gate, Shingo was kind of like the bully and kind of like a monster, essentially. Obviously, it's a whole promotion of juniors. He's not necessarily going to be that in New Japan, but I also kind of wonder about them calling him a junior. I know people are like, oh, he's pretty short, but I was like, dude, he looked almost as big as Naito to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they can get away with calling him a junior. I mean, they book the company. They can make their own rules, whatever. I mean, he wouldn't be, if he was in WWE, he wouldn't be making 205 Live by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, the New Japan limits a little bit.
It's like 220, something like that. They can, and I mean, whatever. I think it'll be fine that he'll be a power junior. I did like the interactions with him and Sho. I mean, you hadn't really seen Shingo before this, right?
No, I mean, it's a name I've heard before. I've seen like clips of him. I know he's done some like Ring of Honor stuff in the past, but I've never really I can't say that I've seen like a full match about and know everything about him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love Dragon Gate. I'll just come out and say it like that. I have a lot of gripes about that company. Every time I see something that gets recommended to me, I can find some good things about it, but I mean, it's not for me. It's not my cup of tea. But I mean, the stuff I've seen of Shingo, he's like one of the few guys that I really, really, really enjoy from over there. So I'm very excited to see what he can do in New Japan. I do gotta wonder though, do you think it really is long term? Or do you think that this could be building to something else? Because there are people who are speculating about that sort of thing.
I don't know. I mean, all signs right now point for it full time. I mean, they put it over pretty hard with the video package and Naito's promo that, this is not a temporary thing. Like, Shingo is a full time
Isn't that what you would say if it wasn't gonna be?
It's true, but I have no idea.
A couple things, Shingo, given his past like persona and stuff, his look and aesthetic might match up with LIJ, but he's freaking crazy. He's not tranquilo at all.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I'm like. He could kind of become like the mini muscle of LIJ. Obviously they have Evil, but this guy's pretty menacing. But at the same time, I do wonder, I'm like, well, what's going to happen when the time bomb shows up?
Yeah.
And I feel like because I think that Shingo is going to get a push. I think eventually he will get a junior run. I'm very excited to see him and Ishimori run it.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of guys in the juniors that I want to see him run it with. And the thing with him is he could go heavyweight at any time in a year or two, and they'll be fine. But, he's going to be he's a big star, and he's a big name. I think they're going to go with him to some extent. And then you got to wonder when Hiromu shows up, who's arguably the biggest star of the junior division, what's going to happen at that point?
Yeah.
And I think that's going to cause division and divide. And I think that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be some interesting stuff. So moving on to the next matchup, another LIJ member in action, or scheduled for action, Evil. Was supposed to be taking on Zack Sabre Jr. So Evil, he comes out. Well, Sabre comes out first, and we get the traditional Taka Zack Sabre time promo. And Evil comes out. He comes out with his throne, and the Druids are carrying him down to the ring like they did last year for his big title match with Okada. And next thing you know, one of the Druids brings Evil into the jump zone. And that Druid happened to be the current IWGP Intercontinental Champion, the Eye of Rock and Rolla. Chris Jericho makes his New Japan return, beats up Evil, attacks him, hits him with a code breaker, lays him out, unmasked. Everybody knew it was Jericho, poses with the IC title, and so he leaves Evil laying. Sabre, he wants the match to start. The ref waves it off. He calls this a no contest, and pisses Sabre off. He attacks the ref, Young Lions, and he continues to attack Evil, work submissions on Evil. Then Naito comes out and makes a save. They brawl, and Naito runs off Sabre. So a couple things here. This sets up Evil and Jericho for the IC belt, and this is also setting up Naito and Sabre one-on-one.
I felt like a couple things. I did feel like this was a little bit disappointing, given the fact that we had been kind of teased this whole Evil Zack Sabre thing, and the fact that Evil couldn't beat him, and the forlorn look that he had, and he was just so dejected, and it seemed like he was going to have this shining moment, and they kind of stole it from us. Now that could be like a little nugget, little breadcrumb. They can come back to that
right.
anytime.
That could be a Wrestle Kingdom match, Evil versus Sabre.
I did love how when Jericho started attacking him, Zack just walked
powder.
out. He took a powder, and he was like, I don't got time for this. This has nothing to do with me. And then after Jericho was out of there, he got in the ring, and he's like, he's good. He's good to go. And I just loved that. I love that Zack was just so dastardly. He didn't do anything. He just stood back, and then he tried to capitalize, which was awesome. What did you think about? What were your reactions when Jericho came out? Did you see it come in? Did you have?
I can't say 100% that I saw it coming. There was a kind of a thought in the back of my mind, because they did set that whole thing up with Evil saving Naito from the Jericho beatdown at Dominion. So there was rumors that they were going to do Jericho and Evil at Power Struggle, but it seemed unlikely that Jericho would wrestle at a Power Struggle level show.
Yeah.
I was happy to see Jericho come back, and
I'll tell you this. When I saw this man come out with Druids, I was like, oh, one of them's freaking Jericho.
Yeah,
obviously, this dude's gonna. Now I was like, I still thought they were gonna have the match, so I was very kind of surprised that that this just turned out to be an angle.
Yeah.
But I was like, Jericho's definitely there, and like, he wasn't disguised that well. He had the freaking IC
belt on,
he had the IC title on. You could see like little whites poking out, and he was wearing the shirt. I'm not tranquilo.
I'm effing crazy. Yeah.
I mean, of all the attacks he's done this year, this was the least of them. I still think it was good, so I'm not going to criticize it too heavily. But I mean, do you think that they could be getting diminishing returns? I mean, is this just like Jericho's thing now? He's just the guy that just shows up and just, punches people when they're not looking, and then that's how he sets up his matches?
Yeah, I mean, with him not being full time, like how else do you set up matches without just promos?
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
It reminds me of when Brock used to show up and then he'd get suspended.
Yes.
And he'd go away. And I'm like, this is kind of akin to that. Not necessarily as egregious, but I don't know, man. This dude attacked Kenny this year. Then he attacked Naito. Then he attacked Naito again. Then he attacked Kenny at All In. Yeah. Now he's attacked Evil. This is the 5th time this year that this dude has dressed up, and I think it was the least well done.
Yeah.
The least inventive and creative, and I don't think the crowd was that into it. They didn't seem like overly shocked. I mean, we're not going to be opening up this show with a clip of, the calls of Jericho attacking Evil. It wasn't really that much of a seminal moment.
Yeah, I mean, but think about it, like, no offense to Evil, but it's Evil. Mm-hmm. It's like, do you go all out for a guy the current state of Evil?
I don't know. Just like, Jericho's such a creative guy, and we think of him as this genius, and he's so relevant. And
yeah.
I don't know. Is this the best you guys could come up with? You've done this 5 times. I mean, the crowd's not that into it. It wasn't even done as well. I'm sorry. And then, Kevin Kelly and them are calling the action. They're like, he's going, what's next for Jericho? Oh, he's going on the cruise. Duh, we know that. Did they not sell that thing out yet? My God.
I believe it was the last thing I heard, I believe it was 95% full.
So I mean, this thing was, essentially it was an angle. Obviously, now, what are your feelings about Evil getting a title shot off the back of an attack when he just failed to beat Zack on 2 different occasions prior to this?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. I really felt like he needed to beat Saber to really put him in title contention and, get that monkey off his back, beat the guy he couldn't beat in a one-on-one match, and then set the match up with Jericho. So it does look kind of weird. He can't even beat Saber, but now we're expecting to beat Jericho.
You know what I would have done? I would have had Evil beat Zack Saber. I would have had Jericho try to do something like this, and Evil gets the better of him. Evil thwarts it. Evil's too smart, and Evil basically messes up Jericho.
Right.
And now there's doubt about their match going into Power Struggle.
Yeah.
If I was booking the territory, he's not beating Jericho at Power Struggle, probably.
Right. Well, that's the next question we have from Reddit user Jar of Peanuts. Who do you guys think will win at Power Struggle, Jericho or Evil?
I mean, I gotta go Jericho.
Yeah, I mean At this point, you would think Jericho's will win. I mean, there is a chance that Evil could win, and then you could do Evil versus Saber for the IC belt at Wrestle Kingdom, and then you could do a grudge match with Jericho and Naito. And so Jars of Peanut had a follow up. He said, in the event that Evil wins the title, what do you think Naito is going to do come Wrestle Kingdom? In the event that Jericho wins, do you think Naito will challenge for the IC title? And do you even want to see Naito with the IC title again?
Well, I think it was good, before we answer that, I think it was good that Naito came out and made the save for Evil, against ZSJ's attacks. Obviously, this match that they're going to be having in the near future will be the 3rd match. And he's lost to Zack Sabre twice this year, so you got to imagine he's got revenge on his mind.
Yeah.
It is nice that, Naito's the one LIJ member that's got everyone else's back. Because when that man gets attacked, no one's to be seen.
Well, Evil saved him from Jericho. But
that's right.
Yeah.
And so, man, and also before we move on, I just got to say, I have been wrong about Jericho every step of the way all year. I'm a simple mark. This dude keeps working me.
Oh my gosh.
I swore to God that there's no way he was going to work Power Struggle. That just doesn't make sense. And then
money talks.
Here we go. So, yeah. But I got to say, I do imagine that they're going to do... I don't know, man. I hate the idea of Naito having that white belt again.
Right. So, because here's what I think. So, if Evil wins, if Evil finds a way to win, I think they're going to do over Saber for the IC. And then Naito beats Saber, Naito and Jericho. a grudge match.
Or whatever you want to do with Jericho at that point, because he's freed up from the belt. There's less
I'm just saying, I don't see much else for Naito besides Jericho. So I think that'd be a grudge match. Or if Jericho retains, obviously you could have him beat up Evil post-match and Naito makes a save again, and you run back Naito and Jericho for the IC title. But like Jar Peanut mentioned here, like personally, I don't want to see Naito with the IC belt again, because Naito hates that belt, and
it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And we've also talked about how we don't want to see him be relegated to the Nakamura role.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what that is. But at the same time, you're like, well, what do they do? I mean, in the interim and in the short term, I would like to see Evil maybe win that belt and then free up Jericho, and then that might be the way to go.
Yeah.
That might be the way to go. But at the same time, I'm like, is Jericho gonna come in and job to Evil? That just seems kind of far fetched to me. So, but you know what? I've been wrong about Jericho all year, so I'm probably wrong about this too. And
Jars of Peanuts just said he really wants to see Jericho and Okada.
Me too.
For the IC title.
Oh, well, yeah. That would be cool.
At Wrestle Kingdom.
That would be really cool, but I don't think we're going that way.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So, also, at this point in the commentary, they had a breaking news that Robbie Eagles from Australia will be teaming up with Taiji Ishimori in the Junior Tag League.
Yeah, and they also had announced earlier in the night that Shingo and Bushi will be teaming up. So we'd kind of, both of those guys had kind of, in the post-match interviews, teased special partners. The Bullet Club the OG Bullet Club was running these promo videos talking about recruiting, and they said they narrowed it down to someone from England, someone from Australia, and someone from America. So they chose Robbie Eagles. I haven't seen too much Robbie Eagles. I hear a lot of hype.
Yeah, we've heard about him a lot.
We've heard a lot, but we'll see. I mean, I'm sure the reports are accurate. Yeah. He's probably going to be great, but we'll see.
So next up, we had the match for the vacant IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. The Time Splitter, Kushida versus the villain Marty Scurll. The big story here, not only are we, crowning a new IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, there's also some backstory between the villain Marty Scurll and Kushida. This was actually the fourth time that these guys have wrestled each other, and the record is 0-3 for Scurll. Scurll has lost to Kushida 3 times out of the 3 matches they wrestled. So kind of the big thing here was, would the villain Marty Scurll be able to beat Kushida and finally get that first win over Kushida?
Yeah, they said, what was it?
0-3. They wrestled each other 3 times, and Kushida's beat them all 3 times.
Okay, I thought this was the 5th match, but maybe I'm wrong there.
This was the 4th match.
Yeah, so I mean, this was good. Obviously, I don't think it was of the same caliber of the Scurll Ospreay match from last week, but I mean, it was fine.
I mean, I thought it was a great match. I mean,
I wouldn't call it great. Personally, I would not call it great.
I mean, it was definitely, to me, I have it like at 4.25.
To me, and this is my hot take, this was the weakest of all the big junior title matches we've had all year long. That's not to say that it wasn't good.
Well, most of the junior matches were like 4.5 or higher.
Yep.
Until this one was like 4.25.
I wouldn't put that high.
Well, what do you have, at 3.75?
Maybe like 3.5 or something like that.
Really? That low?
I just wasn't that. I mean, wrestling nowadays is much better. I think that these guys are capable of having a better match. I've seen them have a better match. I didn't think that this was great by any means. I did think it went a little too long, and I didn't love the mat wrestling.
Really?
I'm a big, me, I love mat wrestling.
I was surprised. I thought you would have liked the wrestling in this match.
I don't know. I feel like Kushida can go, and I feel like Marty's not as good. Marty does a lot of things really, really great, and he can do some of the cool like British tricks, but I mean, I don't know. To me, this felt like a way slower, way sloppier version of what Kushida and Sho did during the Junior Tag League.
Yeah.
That was a match I would have rated like 4 stars, so maybe that's kind of influencing me, but I wasn't super. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is bad by any means. Up to this point, it's probably the best match on the card. But I mean, it was a match. I thought that there wasn't a lot of hype for it.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
The crowd was not into this.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, they weren't. Now, there were some cool spots. You know, Kushida did, like, the thing where he chicken wings the guy and they jump off and he gets the armbar. I mean, I love that spot.
The Diablo armbar off the top.
The ending was good. Him and Marty, like, trading their finishers was good. But
right, and like I just love the whole story that, you know, Skrull worked over his hand and his fingers so he couldn't, you know, get the grip right for the hoverboard lock. So he had to rely on the Back to the Future small package driver.
Yeah, I mean, it was solid storytelling, but I don't know. I feel like part of me, this was kind of what I had predicted a little bit would happen anyways, and I saw Kushida going all the way in this tournament, but more from a logical standpoint, just because, like, he kind of needed it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you go with the guy that needs it. Maybe you should have gone with one of the guys that, like, the fans were behind, so that they'd be invested, because Kushida in 2018 right now, and it's taking nothing away from him, he's one of the greatest wrestlers on God's green earth. We all know that. But, dude, I mean, this company's kind of gotten him under a little bit. I mean, he's nowhere near the level of fandom that he was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Not even close right now. And I think that is part of what people are kind of complaining about. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, the fans didn't, like, pop for this or anything. So I'm just calling it like it is. It just seems like they've gone with Kushida a lot. Mm-hmm. He's a proven commodity.
This is his fifth or sixth?
I think it was a sixth title.
Yeah.
I think it's a sixth title run. But and he kind of needed it, but now we're, like, back at square one. And it just feels like kind of a rushed thing, because they weren't pushing the guy, and then all of a sudden, I mean, he had a great junior,
Best of Super Junior.
Best of Super Juniors. And I love Kushida. He's probably my favorite junior, so I'm not down on him. I just don't know if this was, like, the right time. I would have rather seen them kind of push him and get him into this role, and I just didn't feel that for him here.
All right.
Do you disagree?
I mean, I think it was. I mean, pretty much like none of these guys were really super pushed going into this tournament. I mean, maybe you could say Skrull and Ospreay, possibly.
But there was that fan poll. And,
all right.
And the two guys that were the most popular that the fans wanted to see win this was Bushi and Ospreay, and they went with the guys at the bottom.
Yeah.
Who had a significant lower, fan voting. And I don't love Bushi. I don't want him to be the junior title holder, but I don't know. There would have been more story there because, Hiromu broke his neck, mm-hmm. and the redemption angle, and the guy's over, and you could have made him a transitional champion. I think they kind of went the wrong way here, honestly.
Well, I think probably part of it is just the timing. I mean, they got Bushi and Shingo for Junior Tag League. Bushi can't be a junior champ going into the. Well, I guess so.
Why can't he?
Kushida's going to be in it. Never mind.
I was like, he absolutely could be.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they could have gone with Bushi. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this wasn't by any means a bad match. Maybe I'm rating it a little bit low. Maybe it was like 3.25. But the working standard of IWGP Junior title matches is way higher than this.
Yeah.
I mean, prior to this, probably my lowest match would have been like Takahashi and Desperado.
Yeah.
When they wrestled at Corkin. And I mean, I like that better than this. So
yeah, well, like I mentioned, a lot of the junior title matches this year are all high level of 4.5, 4.75, 5 stars. So
that's what I want here. That's what I want. Ain't nobody got time for 4-star matches. Okay.
Shout out Rich Latta.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
That needs to be one of our T-shirts.
I'm here for the 5 snowflakes, baby.
That needs to be one of our T-shirts. Ain't nobody got time for 4.
If these guys had come out here and had a blow-away match, you wouldn't be hearing this from me.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. All right, so we're moving on to the next matchup here, and it was the matchup for the title shot at the Tokyo Dome. It was the ace of the universe, Hiroshi Tanahashi, taking on Switchblade Jay White with his new manager, Gedo. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so this was decent. I thought it started a little bit slow. I liked the fact that I mean, you got to figure that Tanahashi's probably going to win this.
Yeah.
But man, they really, towards the end, had me believing that Switchblade might take this thing.
Yeah, there were a lot of shenanigans in this match, a lot of cheating, distracting the ref, Gato, coming in, hitting, Tanahashi's knee with the briefcase.
Yep.
At one point, he pulled out the brass knuckles that they used in the, the tag match at, with that Fighting Spirit Unleashed? He used the brass knuckles, yeah. So
I mean, Tanahashi was pulling out the stops here. I mean, he did a high five flow to the outside. I mean, he looked a lot more recovered in this match than he did just a week ago in Long Beach. Him and Jay White have had 2 other matches this year. They had the match at Wrestle Kingdom, which kind of got derided. I thought that was pretty good for what it was, and then the match they had during the G1, which I thought was not very good at all.
This was the best of their 3 matches.
I would agree with that, just because of the drama and the stakes, and then the ending. I still don't think we've seen our great Jay White match. And I was hoping we would get that here. I was really believing. I'm like, given Tanahashi's track record this year, I think he could pull it out of him. But I don't know if these guys are like the best dance partners.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
There's certain guys that just don't click when they're in the ring. However, I still this was their best of the 3 matches.
They don't have like a really low floor, but they don't have like a super high ceiling either. You know what I mean? They're kind of like right there in the middle. This was I did like this better than the junior match. And I thought it told a good story, and the drama and doubt of whether Tanahashi would actually beat Jay White or not was kind of the thing there. Jay did a great job just being super sneaky and super conniving, and he really punished Tanahashi in this match. And then towards the end, I mean, he was pulling out all the trickery, all the shenanigans, all the tomfoolery, all of it. The smoke and mirrors, he brought it all.
Yeah, and came down towards the end of the match. Red Shoes was down. Jay White hits a low blow. Tanahashi, and he's getting ready to hit Tanahashi with a chair. Tanahashi counters the chair shot with a low blow of his own onto White. Tanahashi,
I loved that because that's where they had me like believing like, oh crap. And then when he hit him with the low blow, I was like, thank God.
And then Tanahashi slammed Jay White on a chair. He goes through the high fly flow, but Jay White moves, so he crashes on the chair. Chair shot by Jay White. Red Shoes is back up. White goes for the Blade Runner, and the last second, Tanahashi cradles him up and gets the win and keeps the briefcase and has cemented his spot at Wrestle Kingdom against Kenny Omega.
So for me, this was a little bit WWE. I don't know how to
WWE-ish.
WWE-ish. Yeah. Just, I don't know, reminded me of some of those like late 90s Attitude Era type of like endings to matches, which you don't see a lot in New Japan.
Yeah.
And plus we've seen a lot of like ref bumps. We've seen a lot of other stuff in earlier matches. Not so much that it took away from this, but I mean, I think that's another thing that people are kind of complaining about. But when Tanahashi got that roll-up cradle at the end and got the 3, I was like, oh, I was just relieved. Yeah. And so, I mean, sometimes, I mean, it's not always about, like, a spectacle. Not every match has to be Tanahashi Ibushi. But, I mean, I was just so relieved. I was just so relieved that Tanahashi beat this guy. But, yeah, I mean, they had me believing that Jay White would take this crap. And I was like, oh, my God. Are they going to...
Oh, my God.
But then, so let's talk about the post-match angle.
Yeah, so the big story coming out here is the post-match angle. So, after the surprise win, Jay White attacks Tanahashi, but then the Rainmaker, Okada, comes and makes a save for Tanahashi.
This was the biggest pop of the night.
Yes.
Dude. People were all about Okada saving Tanahashi.
Yes, they love that.
Bro. The New Japan superpowers, bro.
The Aces.
Yes, Team Ace.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh yes, the Mega Aces.
The Mega Aces. Yes.
So Okada.
Go Aces.
Yes.
Go Aces. Oh man, that's how they save Broken Okada. That's how you get him away from the title picture. Keep both of these guys relevant. You put them in the tag title picture.
We need a handshake.
We need a Tanahashi Okada versus Young Bucks match. We need
oh my gosh.
We need a Mega Aces versus Golden Lovers.
Oh yes.
Oh my god. Dude, yes, that's the way we need to go.
Yeah.
I'm all about this. It's never gonna happen, and I'm so invested into it. It's kind of like my Ishii Junior run.
Oh yeah.
I want that so bad.
So badly. But so yeah, Okada runs off Switchblade. And he beats down Gato, but then Jado arrives on the scene and begs off for Gato. He's wearing a Rainmaker shirt, trying to keep the peace. You know, like yeah, why are we fighting? Then the Bullet Club OGs arrive and circle the ring. They jump in the ring. They hold Gato and Jado for Okada. And Okada stupidly trusts them and goes to clothesline Gato, but then Tama Tonga hits him with the gun stun.
Awesome gun stun.
Yes, Gato smiles and they beat down Okada. Then Jay White, he was acting like he didn't know what was going on. Then he starts smiling. He comes in the ring, hits a Blade Runner on Okada, and Jay White and Tama Tonga hug, and we have new members of the Bullet Club OG. Jay White, Geto, Jado. This all goes back to when Switchblade was when Kenny was trying to get Switchblade to join at New Year's Dash, and he declined. And there was a backstage promo where Tama was like, "Maybe we had the wrong guy asking him to join the Bullet Club." Or the wrong team.
They kind of been building it up for a while. And I think that this was something that a lot of people predicted. I kind of hand-waved it, to be honest with you. A lot of people were like, oh, Switchblade as part of the OGs. And I was like, maybe, but I just didn't see it. And then that's exactly what they did. And the main reason I said I don't see it is because I thought it was a bad idea. And I still do.
Yeah.
Although it kind of makes some logical sense. A couple nice touches here. If you noticed, when Switchblade came out, they didn't say he represented Chaos.
Yeah.
That probably should have been like the dead giveaway for everybody that something was going to happen here. The other thing, too, is I don't understand why. I mean, Okada is kind of stupid. So Jado comes out, and you're going to trust this dude. You're going to trust the brother or best friend or whatever it is. I think in kayfabe, Jado and Gato are brothers.
Yeah.
You're going to trust this dude who's been rolling with this dude who just turned on you. They've been rolling together forever.
Yeah.
But he's wearing your merch.
He's putting me over.
He's putting you over, so you're going to put your trust in him. And it's like, do you not remember what happened to you 1 week ago?
But then he tried to trust the Tongans. Like, the Tongans grabbed Gato. He's like...
I think I don't think he trusts them. I just think his hate for Switchblade just overcame him. Yeah. So I can kind of forgive. Plus, he's broken. I mean, he's not all there the way he normally would be. But what are your thoughts, Jeremy?
Oh, well, we got a couple of questions I want to dive into. So first, Howard Schilling, he says, will everyone in New Japan eventually have to breathe of Bullet Club?
I hope not.
Theo Williamson, he says, the big question he has on his mind with Jay joining the BCOGs, do you see Tama Tonga getting a title shot first?
So I feel like part of this, I mean, we did kind of comment how they've been building it up over a long period of time, but it felt in the beginning, I mean, I don't know. Part of it was like when the OG Bullet Club split apart, they're like, there's no leader. We're all equals. There's no leader. And now it seems like maybe they're going with Jay White as the leader.
Yeah.
Which kind of is weird if you think about the G1 match he had with Fale this past year. How that kind of went and they all kind of screwed the guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. They did that to Kenny and he, or I'm sorry. Yeah. They did that to Kenny when he wrestled Finn Balor and then he ended up joining. So, I mean, that kind of makes sense a little bit. But it does seem, I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
this just kind of, to me, kind of sucks because I think one of the big things that people don't like is we already talked about all the problems that are going on with the Bullet Club split storyline. Then you got this other storyline with Chaos. You got an opportunity to do something really, really cool. I mean, I was really excited about it last week. And now it's just become a more ballooned version of NWO Wolfpack and NWO Hollywood.
And here's what I'll say. I don't mind Jay White joining forces with the Tongans. And I don't mind that the Tongans are being pulled in here. My problem is, first of all, like I mentioned earlier, I don't like the two Bullet Club things. Like, we need to have one Bullet Club and the other group be called something else. And then, like, there was no resolution to the Bullet Club war. And now they've just kind of moved on to warring with Chaos.
Yeah, it just seems like a big mess, and it's not very clean storytelling, and we don't know what. I mean, it does seem like this group's just going to be Bullet Club. I mean, at this point, and it is kind of cool that they got like an oceanic sort of thing with like the Tongans and the New Zealanders, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I guess to answer the question is, do I see Tama getting a title shot? No, I think he should have already got one.
Right. I mean, he's going to stick in the tag division.
He should have already got one. Maybe he blew his shot by kind of sucking in the G1, but I mean, I don't know. He kind of did his job, so I don't know if that was ever going to be the way to go.
Right.
But no, I mean, I don't know if anyone's getting a title shot off this. I don't see Jay White getting a title shot necessarily right away, but if you had to ask me down the line, maybe say after like after like New Japan Cup or something like that, who's going to get the first title shot? Probably not Tama.
Right.
If Tama did get the first title shot, you're probably going to have problems between him and Switchblade, and it's just going to be more of the same crap. So, I don't know.
So, we have a lot of questions to unpack here from Reddit user WRPLA101. So, first he says, what do you guys think about BCOG developments? Will this give Switchblade an even greater launching pad to throw him into the top tier contention in New Japan? Will he be more of a Styles or Devitt in terms of his approach to being a central figure?
I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's definitely going to be a launching pad for him. I don't know how high on the card though.
They're going with the guy.
I know they're going with him, but I still know they're going with him regardless if he was going to be in BCOG or not. So I'm not sure how much of him being a part of the Bullet Club OG is what's the key thing in getting him a title shot.
I mean, I think being a title or being a faction leader just in general does mean pretty big things in New Japan.
Well, that's the problem here. So he's like, asking if he's going to be more of a Styles or Devitt, but the whole issue is with Tama is like, there are no leaders with Bullet Club. We're all equal. So clearly Jay White is going to be positioned as the leader. It's like, so you dropped one white dude to follow another white dude that you didn't want to.
Is this racial for you, Jay?
No, I'm just saying, it's like.
You're talking about the oppression of the man?
This doesn't make sense.
I agree. I agree. And that was part of my problem with it. It was like, it didn't make sense because they were trying to have this whole, I don't know. I mean, I guess it does, like I said, logically it does kind of make sense because Jay White had problems with, taking, orders and chaos. And then, they didn't have a strong enough star in the OG Bullet Club, so it does kind of make sense. But then, given what they said in the past, how they don't want a leader, it just seems counterintuitive to what the story was telling us it was supposed to be.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, yeah, I guess like they are strapping the rocket to Jay White. I mean, he beat Kenny Omega for the U.S. title this year.
Right. He beat Tanahashi and Okada in the G1.
He almost won the G1.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they are going with this guy, and this is the next step in his evolution, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what was the question again?
So he said, what do you guys think about the BCOG developments? Will this give Switchblade an even greater launching pad to throw him into top tier contention?
Yeah, I think it will.
And will he be more of a Styles or Devitt in terms of his approach?
Styles or Devitt? Is he asking like between the two or
no? I think he's saying
like both of them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's a heel, and they were heels, so he'll probably be a heel leader, I'm assuming. I mean, this is going to be a heel group. I don't like it because they had an opportunity to create something new and really shake things up in New Japan, and now it's just more of the same crap with the bloated roster, and I don't like it.
Yeah. So he has more to his question. He says, can Tama thrive in the Machine Gun Carl Anderson role in the new look OGs?
Probably. That's probably what it'll be.
He says he thinks he makes a better top lieutenant than a leader type figure.
I think that's a good take. Who is that? Who said this?
Reddit user WRPLA101.
I don't even know necessarily that that's a great question as much as it is just a great take. I hadn't thought of that. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that Tama...
He's not a top guy.
Yeah, I mean, even though Carl Anderson was great in his one-on-one matches, but I feel like, Tama is a better lieutenant guy, the kind of the mouthpiece of the group, the guy that's going to be recruiting and bringing new members in.
It's just one thing I think that's stupid. It's like, okay, we're the OG Bullet Club, and we're going to restore things to the way that they were, but we're going to bring in Jay White, this guy who was a
We're bringing non-OGs to the OG Bullet Club.
I know not everyone that they bring in can be an original member, but there's only 2 original members in
right.
The
then that's
group.
why they need to scrap the whole OG name. Like, it just needs to be the Bullet Club.
I don't even know if they should be the Bullet Club at this point.
Right. They should be the firing squad. Something, I don't know.
You know, another problem I have with this, and we'll get more into it, but it's the fact that I don't think there's enough separation between the 2 groups. Mm-hmm. You got one group who's clearly heel. Obviously, everyone that's OG, they're heels.
Yeah.
But then you got all these guys in the elite who hypothetically should be baby faces, but then they do heel crap all the time. Like, you see it with
Cody, Skrull,
Yujiro.
Yeah.
Freaking
Chase Owens. Sometimes Hangman.
The stuff Kenny's been saying in the media. We'll talk more about it, but the promo that he cut on Tanahashi is not something that you'd see from a white meat babyface.
Yeah.
And so it's like, are these guys faces or are these guys heels? And people be like, shades of gray, pal.
Goddamn.
Dang, pal. It's like, but no, because when we had the NWO, at least the Wolfpack had it like,
we're baby faces.
They're all baby faces,
yeah.
and it made sense. But like, this is just, it's not enough separation to really get the thing over, and I don't like that either.
All right, and last part to his question, he says, we all know Gato is a master booker, but did he have this plan all along from the start? With all the stories being intertwined, Broken Okada, the Gato turn, White's background shit-stirring and chaos after turning down Kenny, the Golden Lovers reunion, and Kenny losing half the faction. Did it just take some time for the other pieces to fall into place for it all make sense, or was it a way to save things? And I say that as someone who didn't really dislike the Tama and Company stuff throughout the G1. Either way, it's turned out brilliantly and better for everyone concerned, I think. New era coming soon.
What do you think?
I'm sure, Gato is a great booker, and I'm sure for him, his plan at the beginning of the year, I'm sure, I wouldn't be surprised if he laid everything out for it to intertwine this way. But I will disagree with WR here that this has turned out better for everyone.
There are people who feel that way, who are really into this. They think that it's great, and I'm not deriding them or mocking them. If you love it, you love it, but right. I don't.
I don't. Again, we've talked about the Bullet Club split stuff. The Broken Okada stuff is kind of weird. The Gato.
I've got more hope for Broken Okada than this.
I like the Gato turn. Jay White, stirring things up in chaos has been a kind of a good story throughout the year.
It was.
Yeah, it was. But and then
well, maybe it still will be.
Yeah. I don't know. There are some elements to this, and he liked the Tama stuff throughout the G1. I did not like the Tama and Fale stuff in the G1. And there are some elements to this whole thing I'm not a fan of, but I'm willing to let it play out and see where it goes from here.
Well, here's what I'll say about Gatoism. Go Inokiism. But with Gato, Gato has shown to be an excellent long-term storytelling booker.
Yeah.
There's no denying that. Gato has also shown that when need be, he can improvise and flip the switch on short notice and still tell compelling stories.
Yeah.
So not only can he lay something out for a long period, but when need be, he can change things on the fly. Right. So do I think that he necessarily designed it all to be exact this way? I would say I hope not, because I don't think that if this is something he laid out for a long time, I don't think it's great storytelling to begin with.
Yeah.
It could be a combination of where he wanted to go plus what was necessary, given the different circumstances that are going on with contracts and Harold Mai taking over and different things like that. Who's to say? We don't really know. But with that being the case, I've seen more missteps from the booking in New Japan this year than ever before. That's not to say Gato's not a great booker. I can't be too harsh on the guy because, how many years has he put forth great compelling storylines? 6 years is a long time to keep doing this sort of stuff.
Right, yeah.
Eventually,
You run out of good ideas.
you run out. Eventually, you know. I mean, you ever played a WWE game, and how long can you run universe mode? Keep it,
Bro, I don't know about my universe mode goes for years, brother. You give me the book, and things are great in my universe.
For 6 years. For 6 years, you're Gato level. You're one of the all-time greats.
John Juris is on top of the promotion. Things are great.
Oh my god.
But I think it does make sense for Gale to be part of the Bullet Club. His whole thing, he's a reign taker. He's not a part of Okada, so he needs to get his money from somewhere.
Oh, I literally thought,
why not?
I was like, this is the perfect place for this guy to be.
Yeah, why not slap on a ghetto Bullet Club shirt and get that money from the Bullet Club?
He needs to get a rain taker shirt.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that makes sense. Meal ticket.
Yeah. We had a question from Twitter follower at NJPW Aaron. He says, who are the worst groups at coming into the ring for the save? And based off this angle, I'll say it's Chaos.
Oh my god.
Where was Goto? Where was Ishii? Where was Ospreay? Where was Roppongi 3K? Where's Beretta?
The one guy who made a save was Tanahashi at the end.
Yeah.
He kind of helped. Well, actually, he didn't even save.
And then Rocky Romero got...
I think they jumped Rocky.
Yeah.
I don't think it was on camera.
Right, yeah, it was off camera.
Also, where was Mark Warzeshka? I guess he wasn't on commentary this night, huh?
Yeah, no. I don't know. But yeah, all these Chaos dudes in the building, and you're trying to tell me that none of those dudes were in front of the monitor to realize that Okada's getting beat down?
They're at catering, brother. I don't know that they got monitors back there.
They left the building.
They might have gone home for the night.
Well, Naito knew that Evil was getting whooped on and came to make the save.
Man. Yeah, I don't know. You have a good point there.
And obviously, we also know for the most part, LIJ can be pretty bad at making saves. Naito and Evil seem to be the only ones that...
Yeah, I mean, where was Chaos, man? This is pretty bad. Yeah. Is there even a Chaos? I don't know.
Right. I mean, that could be a big sign. Them not coming to save Okada. They're like, wipe their hand, man. We're done with this stuff. We're all going our own ways.
Yeah. Good question.
All right, so now we're moving on to the main event of the evening.
Oh, by the way, Gato cut a really funny promo at the end where he's like, 2 words, F 'em. And then him and Rocky actually, Rocky and Tamatanga actually had like a pretty explicit Twitter exchange. So
I missed that. Yeah,
you probably need to check that out.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So the main event, the IWGP Heavyweight Title match, triple threat. The champion, the best bout machine, Kenny Omega, defending against the Golden Star, Kota Ibushi, and the NWA World Heavyweight Champion and the IWGP US Champion, the American Nightmare, Cody. So this was the big controversial triple threat match.
Oh, I do have to say a retraction. Last week I said that the previous triple threat that they had in Japan was on January 4th in the Tokyo Dome. Scratch that. It was actually 13 years to the date, so it was October 8th.
Gotcha.
But I got the names of the competitors right. So you got to give me that.
And one thing we did fail to mention was the triple threat that happened in Ring of Honor, where AJ Styles defended the title against Okada and Michael Elgin.
Yeah, but I mean, does that even count?
I mean, it was an IWGP title defense.
In Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, the big controversial triple threat. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I mean, I did not love this. I mean, obviously I've made my thoughts known last week that I didn't think that there was a good build to this. What were your thoughts? Let's start with you. What were your thoughts, Jeremy?
All right, so I'll say this. Overall, I liked the match. I thought it was a really good match. I thought it was a great main event for this show. I thought that there were some elements in this match that helped kind of tell the story for Omega and Ibushi. You know me. I love spots and I love moves. So this was the kind of a match for me. They did a lot of cool moves and a lot of cool spots. And I like the stuff that they were doing with Omega and Ibushi, like Omega stealing pinfall from Ibushi, and then just Ibushi just having that look, just being so pissed off at Kenny, and just kind of going into that next level mode that Ibushi goes into in the latter end of his matches. And so I thought that was kind of some good stuff there in that match. Now, there was some kind of stuff in the match I did not like, or I didn't really think made sense, and it was just like, you know, this is all three of these guys are in the same faction. They're all teammates. They're all friends. And then you got Cody just pretty much, you know, kind of going into heel mode. He's pulling out tables. He's pulling out chairs, you know. It's like, what are you doing, man? Like, I get you want to win the title, but, like, aren't these guys supposed to be, like, your buddies, and you're out here, like, trying to injure them? So a lot of that I don't think really made sense with some of the stuff with Cody's involvement.
Yeah. So I did not like the build to this match. We got a 1 week build coming off the heels of the show that they did in the US last week. And then it felt convoluted. It felt very it felt cheap to me to a degree. It felt bad for Kenny's title reign. I think there are ways they could have avoided having to have done this, and we can talk about that here in a moment. But I didn't love this match. Now, if in a vacuum, if you're just looking at the action itself, yeah, there was a lot of action here, and there was some really good stuff. But I think that this match is very emblematic of like the problems that are going on with what people are complaining about. So some of the things here. I did not like the storytelling in this match. Like you brought up the fact that Cody started off like a face, but then he became dastardly throughout the match. I guess sometimes I liked that he did that instead of just going full-blown heel like he did last week because it's supposed to be a face. But it's like, dude, you and Omega were feuding for half the year. You guys made up, and then all of a sudden you're like kind of friends, but then all of a sudden you're a heel. So I didn't really love Cody's role in this match. I didn't like the storytelling with Omega and Ibushi, and I have to disagree. I didn't think that it did a good job setting up a future match. It made me want to watch that match less than before this had happened. For many reasons. I thought that the storytelling was very like heavy-handed. It was so like in your face. Like it's not what we've come to appreciate from New Japan with the nuanced storytelling. It was someone's calling me. It was much more like in your face, like what we've seen, like people talk about Gargano and Ciampa. Like, we're telling a story. Pay attention. This is a story. Yeah. And a lot of stuff didn't make sense. Like the one point where Omega was gonna let Ibushi
take the pinfall. That didn't make sense.
And he didn't break it up. I'm like, you're gonna give up the IWGP title? Well, that makes sense.
Well, that was early in the match, and I think Omega knew that Cody was gonna kick out.
Yeah, you can say that, but it's still stupid. Yeah. It's still stupid. Yeah. There's just a lot of stuff. I didn't like I didn't think that these guys totally vibed all together. And one problem I had was Kenny wasn't over. Kenny's always over, but dude, Kenny at times when he comes out is undoubtedly like the star of the show. Yeah. Dude, he seemed to me like he did not get the pop he normally gets. He did not get the reception he normally gets. And when him and Ibushi were when they finally got to the point where it's just him and Ibushi after they did the the powerbomb spot where they took out Cody on the outside. Yeah. And we finally got Ibushi and Kenny, and you felt like you're going to get that moment. Dude, the crowd could care less. And that's a problem. That is a very, very, very big problem when you got a big moment with these two guys squaring off and it's built that way and the crowd goes mild. Yeah. That's a problem. Yeah, that is a problem. I mean, there's nothing I could say to defend that. But I will say, and we talked about this before we were recording, I think part of the lack of reaction for this match could be the fact that I think a lot of fans going into this match didn't think there was any way that Kenny was losing. So it's like, why get invested? Why get hyped and buy into this match if we know that? I think a lot of people, there was a couple of things that people thought would happen. They thought either the OG Bullet Club would just screw up the finish to save the match. That would have sucked. Yeah. A lot of people thought Cody was going to take the pinfall, which doesn't make sense because, dude, this guy's the NWA champion and the US champion. He ain't doing no job. He's not doing it. Then that leaves you with Kenny and Kota. Is Kota going to beat Kenny? I mean, on this night, it didn't seem like it was the time to do it. My problem is, I know that they will allude to backstories from other promotions, but these guys have wrestled 3 times. Kenny has never beat Kota Ibushi at any point in their careers. This has been a big, big, big deal. And then Kenny turns around and beats Kota Ibushi. What the crap?
Now, I will say this. I think that story is still kind of there because it wasn't a one-on-one match. He pinned him in a triple threat match where he's taken damage from 2 opponents and not just Kenny. And I still think Kota can say, you cannot beat me when it's a one-on-one match. You need your buddy Cody. You need the gimmicks. Like, let's do this for the belt, one-on-one, man-to-man, and let's see if you could really beat me.
I mean, yeah, you can say that, but at the same time, I feel like he pinned him.
Yeah.
They were saving the pin, and he pinned him, and now it's like, I think it kind of ruins it a little bit. And that was one of the questions that we gotten earlier, was like, well, do you think that it ruins the feud? I don't think, like, it ruins it, but I mean, they were saving it. It was supposed to be a very, very big moment. The fact that Kenny could beat Kota Ibushi. I mean, sure, you can throw in that caveat that Cody was there, but it doesn't take away from the fact that Kenny beat him. Now, here's my problem with all this, okay? We could have easily had Kenny, I know it's hindsight, but Kenny could have lost to Naito during the G1 and set up a title shot here. He could have lost to Zack Sabre Jr., set up a title shot here. They could have just straight up given him Tama Tonga and blown off that title, that whole thing. They could have held off on the Ishii thing. I'm not saying that that's what you should put in this arena necessarily, but he did beat him. They could have just turned around and done that here. But instead, I mean, dude, this is a match that they would not have done as the main event of King of Pro Wrestling 2 years ago. No freaking way.
Yeah.
There's no freaking way.
And I agree with you on that, but I don't think they should have booked the triple threat, but with what they booked, with the way, because they booked the triple threat, I think they went in the right.
Dude, the intro where they were like the VTR and like they had nothing to talk about, like, oh, well, we're going to show you something beautiful. Well, we're all friends. And no, bump that. This sucks.
Yeah. I would have preferred if they had just did a one-on-one Naito or Sabre or somebody.
I think here's part of the problem, okay? Everybody that loves New Japan doesn't just love good wrestling, they love New Japan. Now, yes, there was good wrestling on this card. Could you turn around and say that this match was good? Some people are like, this is a very divisive match. Some people love this match.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great match.
But it's not New Japan. Right. That's the problem. Like, strong style, even though like the modern sense of strong style isn't necessarily what like Inoki wanted to be, this idea of strong style is very different from, this was like a US match basically.
Right.
And you know, this whole like Kenny Omega changed the world thing. I mean, it's hard, I'm torn because I know that Kenny's the most dynamic performer in the world, and when I see him I'm like, he's great. But then I see this match and I'm like, this is not what I want for New Japan. This is not. And I mean, he had an awesome G1, but there's certain things that I'm just like, I don't know, man. And then you take the Tanahashi and the Jay White match, and it was, like I said, very WWE-ish. Yeah, they were both good matches, but then at the same time, is this representative of what New Japan is?
Right.
Of that style, of that, you know what I mean? And part of the problem is Kenny's like saying, oh, well, you guys have all been trained to think a certain way, and I'm going to change things. It's like, nah, dude, we see this in AAW. We see this in PWG. We see this in Ring of Honor. Like, we already have this. This is not what we want. This is not what New Japan fans want. And I don't think, like, I mean, dude, the crowd wasn't, like, that into this.
Yeah.
Like, they just really weren't. And I don't think that this was the right way to go. And I think it is a problem.
Yeah. And, so, like we mentioned, Kenny got the pinfall on Kota Ibushi. V-trigger, one wing angel combination, and then they have the post-match promo. You know, Kenny's helping Ibushi up, wants to make sure Ibushi can stand before he cuts his, closing promo. He's there. We failed to mention the Young Bucks were out there.
Yeah.
And so all of them are in the ring now, and they're Omega's cutting his post-match promo. Then Tanahashi comes out with a briefcase. Big reaction for Tanahashi.
Well, before that, Kenny wouldn't do the promo until Ibushi stood up. And big shout out to Chris Charlton, who has been on the show before. If you haven't caught our interview with Chris Charlton, be sure to check that out. But he did an awesome job just translating everything. And I mean, it was so easy to follow what he was saying to Ibushi. But then, he had the audacity at one point in the match to tell Ibushi to know his place. And then,
yes, yeah.
And then at the end of the match, he was like, "I love you, stand up."
Yeah.
And it's I don't know. But then, so then he was getting ready to do the good night, goodbye, and then Tanahashi came out, and then guess what? That crowd
came alive.
They came alive more so than they had been the last hour, basically. So I mean, I don't know if it's, and I don't want to just make it seem like it's just for Tanahashi. I think it's for that matchup.
Yeah,
I think there is interest in that matchup. There's
a lot of interest in this Omega Tanahashi match. There's a lot of heat behind it. Mm-hmm. So they pretty much made the match official. And they're going to see each other at the Dome January 4th.
So the Wrestle Kingdom main event is set. I felt kind of bad for Ibushi because he had even, during the press conference for King of Pro Wrestling, he said he was going to wrestle his career was on the line because he's not a champion. He didn't have a title to put up the rest of the guys.
Right.
Before we move on, do you want to talk about the alleged controversy about this should have been Omega and Ibushi, and that there was politicking involved?
Before we get to we have some questions here.
Okay, let's do that.
In this match. So first from Twitter user at NJPW Aaron, he says, "What can we look forward to with Ibushi? His match at Power Struggle seems so strange."
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of been, ever since this Golden Lovers thing, it has kind of set him back to a degree, I would say. Yeah, he had, I mean, the G1 was the one time that he had a chance to really step out and shine, but all year he's kind of been saddled with Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
And I think that is a problem. Obviously, we all kind of are expecting to see a match between them down the road, but this isn't how you get there. I don't think doing this match is how you get there, and I'm what to expect from Coda. I mean, I'm sad to say it, but I feel like the same crap that we've always, until this guy signs, it's the same stuff we're just going to continue to see from him.
I mean, I think the kind of, shining point here would be the never openweight title match with Ospreay. It's going to be a big match for him at Wrestle Kingdom.
If that happens.
Yeah.
But we're hoping and expecting that that's the route they're going to go. It seems like it.
And we have a question from our boy Rich. He says, seemed like there was a bunch of disappointment around how this three-way was received. As someone who hasn't seen the match yet, what did it have? I feel like we kind of...
Yeah, I think our review of it, I thought that the story, I didn't think it was good storytelling, personally. I mean, some people might disagree. I think Rich will probably like this match because Rich is kind of like you. He loves the big spots, and I'm a big fan of it too. But I've seen better triple threats than this by far. By far.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say still watch it. It was a good match.
Yeah.
It was a match. Now, here's the thing. It's probably match of the night.
Yeah.
So, I'm deriding a match that was match of the night, at the top of the card. But this isn't what I want to see out of the IWGP title, personally.
Then we have a question from Reddit user Draw Mazzini. He says, does Tanahashi take the title from Omega at Wrestle Kingdom? If not, what challengers other than Ibushi do you see getting a shot at Kenny?
That's a great question. Well, I think there is an argument that Tanahashi could win this belt.
Right. I mean, it's kind of the whole story going into it, the two differing philosophies. I mean, Tanahashi kind of represents traditional New Japan, where Omega represents the Westernization that's happening.
Does this not have Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, or Stone Cold Bret Hart vibes to you?
Yeah.
It really, really, rings that to me. And Kenny, I don't think it's just... I don't think Kenny likes Tanahashi. And I don't think it's just a work. He seems to actually
be annoyed,
dislike him. So I don't know. Or maybe they're just really good workers. But I think Tanahashi, we've kind of thrown this out there. Tanahashi could hypothetically win the belt.
Yes.
If Kenny's leaving, or if they're trying to set up a big match between them at MSG. Obviously, Ibushi's a title contender that he should have probably got a title match one-on-one here because he beat him in the G1. Who else do you think in the future you could see Kenny defending against?
I think there's a story there for a Naito matchup, because remember they had that whole beef this summer.
I have heard that they don't want Naito in title matches unless he's going to win the belt, though.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
I think Zack Sabre Jr. is a guy.
I agree wholeheartedly.
I think
Jericho.
Yeah.
Jericho's another way they could go again.
I think Evil and Sonata are guys
maybe
for smaller shows.
Obviously Okada down the line.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's quite a few challengers now on the Direct Horizon. I mean, it's pretty simple. Whoever wins at Wrestle Kingdom is going to defend the belt, most likely after. Well, I guess New Beginning. We'll get a New Beginning title defense after Wrestle Kingdom, and then Sakura Genesis will be probably whoever wins the.
Won't MSG be before Sakura Genesis this year? Because remember last year Supercard of Honor was before.
But the tradition has always been whoever wins the New Japan Cup,
right,
challenges the champion at Sakura Genesis. So maybe we'll get them close to one another, or I don't know how they're going to do that.
I don't know how they're going to do that. Yeah. We have a question from Reddit user Muzza_44. Will Toru Yano get his deserved IWGP Heavyweight title match since he beat Omega in the G1?
Did Tomohiro Ishii get a title shot against Okada 2 years ago?
Nope.
There's your answer.
And then the last question comes from Reddit user ZeroPi. He says, how do you think Tanahashi will be booked in 2019? Will he win the title from Omega? Since Okada saved them at King of Pro Wrestling, will they join together and take on the BCOGs?
So I think he read our mind about the Mega Aces.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be so weird if they did join forces, but I love it.
Yeah.
How will he be booked in 2019? Well,
it all depends. I mean, Tanahashi, he could win the belt, and he could have another little run.
If he wins the belt, I see him having a short little run through the first, 4 months of the year.
Yeah.
And then after that, I could see him kind of fading back into the role that he had previously held.
Yeah.
Being like a secondary upper mid guy.
We could, if Jericho keeps the IC, you can do Jericho and Tanahashi for the IC belt.
That's a match Jericho wants. And I think it's a match that Tanahashi would want. So that would make a lot of sense. So I think there's still things they can do with him. I don't think that there's people who've complained about Tanahashi being involved in the main event, and that's kind of an asinine argument and viewpoint. But I don't think anyone's under the illusions that Tanahashi is going to be a long-time mainstay and have a death grip on the IWGP title if he does win, which he probably isn't. He's probably just going to put over Kenny and move on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we'll see what we usually see from Tanahashi. Lots of tag matches.
Maybe some IC matches.
Big singles matches. And then come G1 time, he'll turn up. And that's probably what we'll see from Tanahashi.
Yeah.
Or maybe he'll blow out a knee or something like that.
Bicep.
And he'll be gone for a little while. And then we'll get reports he's going to be gone for 10 months. And he comes back in 2 months.
Yeah.
So
you want to talk about the controversy now?
Yeah, so I mean, there was people who were saying, I mean, this was kind of we waited a while to record. So I mean, there's people who had been saying that it was supposed to be Kenny and Ibushi here, but that Kenny and Ibushi had allegedly made a pact with one another that they would not wrestle again until they wrestled in a bigger building than the Budokan.
Yeah.
Which obviously Ryogoku's not. And they didn't draw the way that they would have somewhere else. So there's allegations from people that Kenny kind of politicked his way into this triple threat.
Yeah. They didn't want to do it. So he's like, we got to do something else. So I'm the champ. I'm not doing this match. Figure it out.
What do you think about that? So there's people are pissed about that.
Yeah, and a lot of people are comparing it to Hogan politicking with the belt in the 90s. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, it's so hard. I mean, we can get all the backstage reports we want, but at the end of the day, we are not there to hear the actual conversations that are happening.
Yeah.
I mean, it does seem kind of clear that there was some hesitation of doing the Omega Ibushi match. And, they did it at the G1. I know that they did not want to do it there. Well, that's the story. They did not want to do it there. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they did not want to do it at Power Struggle. I mean, at King of Pro Wrestling.
Let's say hypothetically they asked him to do it. Do you think he should have?
Yeah, I mean...
Or do you think that this was the right way to go and do this triple threat?
I mean, I guess it depends. I don't know. I guess it depends what's going to happen in their next matchup. But, I mean, at the end of the day, like, your bosses tell you, like, this is what we want you to do, and you're going to be like, nah, I don't think so. I don't know.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for King of Pro Wrestling. Any final thoughts?
Overall, from top to bottom, I thought it was a good show. I enjoyed the junior title match, heavyweight title match. I enjoyed the main event.
I thought it was a good show, but when I got done watching it, I had an uneasy feeling, and I feel like that's the underlying thing that people are talking about, or at least that's what it was for me. I didn't feel like I watched a New Japan show the way I normally do.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is like they used to stack King of Pro Wrestling. And now it doesn't feel like a Dominion level. Obviously, it's bigger than like say Destruction Tour or New Beginning. But I was kind of let down by this.
I think the U.S. show threw it off. I
feel like the way that they've tried to do more shows, but kind of
they
thin it out.
Right, they're doing more shows, but they're not like booking well with having more shows.
Yeah. So we have, you were actually right. I apologize. They've only released a partial announced card for Power Struggle, which will be taking place on November 3rd, Saturday, November 3rd. One thing that's interesting to note, so the Junior Tag League, which is going to be a single block tag league this year, is going to run concurrently with the Road to Power Struggle tour. Mm-hmm. So like, most of the cards are going to be headlined by the Junior Tag League matches, and then we'll have Road 2 matches leading to Power Struggle. So it's kind of a combined tour, which is nice. And they're going to be showing at least, 4 of these nights live, and then the rest of them will be video on demand. Now, I would imagine that they'll probably just do the Junior Tag matches on the on-demand portion. Yeah,
I actually have the full kind of the schedule.
And do you want to? Let's talk about the Super Junior Tag. The teams that have been announced for this. So there's 8 teams.
Yeah, so 8 teams. We have the IWGP Junior Tag Champions El Desperado and Kanemaru. We have Sho and Yo from Roppongi 3K. We have Jushin Thunder Liger and Tiger Mask. We have Taiji Ishimori and Robbie Eagles. We have Bushi and Shingo Takagi. We have the best friends of Shelly, the junior champion Kushida and Chris Sabin. We have Super 69, which is ACH and Ryusuke Taguchi. And then we have a team from CMLL, Volador Jr. and Soberano Jr.
So I think we'll get more into our coverage of that and predictions. We might even be running a contest.
Yes.
In the coming weeks, so keep your eyes and ears peeled about that. But so this is going to run from October 16th all the way to November 3rd, with the finals taking place during the actual Power Struggle event. Mm-hmm. So it's a single block tournament. And then let's just run over this card real quick, and we'll talk more about this. But the announced matches that we have
for Power Struggle.
Yep. So we have a tag team match: Kazuchika Okada teaming with Beretta, taking on the team of Jay White and Bad Luck Fale. Mm-hmm. Hiroshi Tanahashi will be teaming with Dave Finlay, taking on the Golden Lovers. In a never open weight title challenge, Will Ospreay is challenging Taichi for the title. Special singles match, Tetsuya Naito against Zack Sabre Jr. And then headlining the event in the main evento, King of Darkness Evil taking on Y2J Chris Jericho.
Yeah, so looks like a good card so far.
They have an awesome poster. I don't know if it's fan made or if it's
with Jericho and Evil.
Yeah, I saw it on the Reddit. It's pretty awesome actually. Yeah. So we will, in the coming weeks, we're going to...
Yeah, next week I think because the tournament starts next Tuesday, so, I mean, when we record, we'll probably just do a preview show next week, and I'm going to try and get the contest up
shortly
before that happens. And I'll be dropping that in the Reddit and on Facebook and Twitter, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, we'll go into a full preview of the junior tournament next week, what we think about all the teams and who we think is going to win this thing.
Yep, so let's get into the news here. We'll go through it very quickly. So the reports have just dropped that Kenny Omega is actually dealing with a rib injury.
Yeah. He said in the post-match promo after the triple threat that, I've been wrestling with an injury. Then I saw today that it's a fractured rib he's been dealing with.
In other news, Kenny Omega will be attending the GameStart Asia convention in Singapore. So if you are a listener and you're out in Singapore or you're a big gamer, you might want to check that out. Kenny Omega will be there. The Wrestle Kingdom 13 official press conference came out this past week, so you can catch that on NJPW World. I still haven't gotten a chance to check it out.
Yeah, I haven't got a chance to check it out yet either.
Taichi actually had some interesting tweets this past week talking about Gaijin getting more opportunities.
Yeah, I saw that.
In New Japan than the homegrown talent, which was very interesting. So the free match of the week this week was Andre the Giant taking on Stan the Lariat Hansen from 1979. Those of you who are fans of classic wrestling are probably aware of the 1981 classic that they had, which is heralded as one of the 5 or so best, New Japan 80s matches, or one of the best 80s matches ever. But if you haven't seen the 79 match that they had, I'd highly recommend it. I think it's a really wild, crazy brawl, just like all their matches together. I've seen it before it was, the free match of the week. It's really good.
I'll have to check it out.
We had news about the Lions Break project that will be happening in November. Is that going to be on New Japan World?
I don't know. They haven't really said.
So November 10th, they're headlining the event with, what's wrong with me? What's Goto's first name?
Hiroki.
Man, why do I forget names? Hiroki Goto taking on Jeff Cobb. Is this going to be for the...
It's for the Ring of Honor TV Championship.
So I guess it's going to be aired somewhere.
Yeah.
I like the fact that Goto basically said, I don't know what that belt is, but I want it.
Yeah.
So kind of pulling some Ishii action there. And then the next day they're headlining with Kenny Omega taking on Dave Finlay. And they have an assortment of other, announced talent. We'll probably see some of the LA Young Lions. Maybe I'll be out there. We'll see.
Yeah.
But also, there've been a lot of questions online about, once the videos started getting taken down by Real Neat Puro as well as Showbuckle. Obviously, we know Showbuckle is back on Vimeo, kind of less active than in the past, but Real Neat Puro got taken down. He posted a video, a return video on YouTube this past week, but it's like an hour and some odd minute video of him just talking about Kazuchika Okada's title reign and a case for him being the best in the world. And in basically in the disclaimer, he says, because there's no actual video, he's like, if there's no video, you can't take it down.
That's awesome.
So I haven't listened to it. I would like to see actual videos from him. Maybe if he's listening, I don't know, but maybe kind of go the route that Showbuckle did, because we miss your content.
Yeah.
And there's been some new content that came out with the 2 new shows that New Japan has online, The Wire as well as The Recounts.
Yeah.
With The Wire, they did the rise of Hiroshi Tanahashi as well as the backstory over the past year with Jay White and his turn on Chaos. I don't know if you got to see either of those.
I think I saw a Tanahashi one. I'm not sure. I don't think I saw the Jay White one.
I haven't watched the Jay White one. I watched the Tanahashi one. It was pretty good. And then they did a recount, part 1, the history of Hiroshi Tanahashi. The one thing I'll say about these videos, I think it's great that they're creating new content online, and it's pretty accessible for newer fans, but I got to go back to those Showbuckle videos and just how in-depth they are.
Here's my thing, you see this guy is putting out great content. Mm-hmm. Hire the guy.
They really should.
Dude, we need to create more English content. You're doing an amazing job. Can we use your videos? Come along our team.
Harold, listen up.
Yeah.
It's pretty, the video production or, the production value of what they're putting online is pretty good, and Kevin Kelly does a great job narrating. But that being said, the information that's being delivered is very surface, very surface, and it's kind of broad. I would like it to be much more, I mean,
a longer form, more in depth, like
giving the actual backstories. Yeah,
I mean, somebody for me who's kind of jumped. I mean, Wrestle Kingdom 9 was my big jumping point into New Japan. Those Showbuckle videos have helped me a lot learn the history of some of these guys and feuds and stories. You know, those long, in-depth videos. And that's the kind of stuff I feel like fans need if they would truly want to understand the history of New Japan.
Like, I watched the one with Tanahashi, and it was okay, but, like, they essentially were like, well, Tanahashi did this, and then he did this, and then he did this, and then he did this, and that's it. And it's like, well, what's the context? Like, what happened? You know what I mean?
Right.
There really was no context. It was just like... It was basically like a countdown. Like, he won the title here, he main evented here, you know, and so and away we go.
Yeah.
And like those Showbuckle videos are like, here's the story.
Yeah.
Here's the nuances. Here's what happened. I mean, it is superior to what New Japan is putting out.
Yeah.
But check those videos out. We actually saw a tweet this past week from Hiromu Takahashi discussing the way, like, where he's at, and how he said that essentially, and I'm kind of paraphrasing that, it was an accident. He stopped beating himself up over it, and he's focused on recovering. And he's like, and in the long, you know, basically in the long term, this is a pretty minor setback. It's a minor injury, and I will be back, which is very promising.
Yeah, that's great.
And then we've been getting reports about Oka and Kawato kind of failing in their excursions.
Yeah, I've been hearing it's not been good. I mean, I personally haven't seen any of their matches besides. I mean, we saw the Great O'Karn on those Rev Pro New Japan shows.
Well, they got him teamed up with Lord Gideon Grey.
That's what I hear. Yeah, they gave him a mouthpiece.
And I also heard that, like, Kawato's doing okay, but, like, a lot of people don't seem to be taking to him either over in CMLL, and that he's having trouble catching on with the style and, like, even just catching opponents, which is, like, a basic skill that they do over there.
Yeah.
He's not, like, picking up on it too quickly, so... I don't know. That's very interesting stuff. We'll have to keep our eyes on them.
Yeah.
And then in news outside of New Japan, so, I mean, let's just start with the big news. Pac has returned. He made his reemergence at Dragon Gate.
Yeah, and so, you know, the interesting thing there is, you know, he beat Shingo Takagi in his last match. So Pac is in Dragon Gate now. Shingo's in New Japan. So, yeah, interesting stuff there.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a lot of talk online about people kind of deriding this decision and being like, why would he join a smaller promotion? And I mean, the guy's probably a freelancer. I do assume at some point we're going to see him show up in New Japan. Maybe not right now.
Right.
But I mean, there's nothing to say he couldn't work for both promotions.
He's following the Joe Lanza plan.
Yeah, that the path of what
the Joe Lanza path of greatness.
Yeah.
For Pac. Yeah.
There was reports this past week that WWE made an official offer to Hangman Adam Page.
Hangman Pagey.
And that he didn't necessarily turn him down, but said not right now.
Yeah.
So very, very interesting stuff. In other news, so there was talk this past week about Impact trying to reach out to New Japan, and that talent in New Japan has been talking to management about working Impact, kind of like how Ishimori is.
Yeah.
We've been alluding to this all year since, like, when we first started the show, and it seems like now that they're taking a hardline stance within the New Japan office, not allowing guys to work Impact due to their partnership with Ring of Honor. Which is kind of surprising because they're letting Ishimori work over there. But I don't know what his deal is.
Yeah, I think, well, probably the Ishimori deal was probably established before his New Japan deal was. So he's probably the only one that can get away with it. But
there was people that were thinking, like, you know, with the whole thing with
Don Callis,
who, again, like I said a few before the G1, like, or after the G1. Is he done?
I mean,
it seems like he might be done.
Yeah, I think he might be, yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, people were thinking that might be, like, a good way to bridge over, you know, but, you know, it doesn't seem like that is the case.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because I would like to see more guys work Impact from New Japan. I think it would be a great opportunity. There are reports that Y2J, Chris Jericho, will be working Bound for Glory this year in some capacity.
And that's what, like a week or two?
That's the reports, man.
Yeah.
Those are the rumors. We have news about Joey Janela. We talked about his injury, and the reports are now that it's way worse than what he had originally been reported. He's going to be out at least over a year. He does have to get surgery on his knee. So they thought it was going to be a shorter period of time. The WWN has stripped him of the title, and they'll be running a tournament actually right here in Tampa in a few weeks. So
Evolve 114.
Hopefully Joey Janela gets better. The NWA is going to have a match between his girlfriend Penelope Ford taking on the reigning NWA Women's Champion Jazz at the NWA 70th anniversary show. So look forward to that. There are rumors about All In 2 and 3 taking place next year during Labor Day and Memorial Day weekend. So whether that will happen or not is yet to be seen. I also saw Cody in the in the media saying that essentially the chances of the Elite showing up in WWE this next year are very high.
Yeah. So you never know. And speaking of Cody, I don't know if you caught this, but he defended the footage of his NWA title match with Willie Mack is not out on the NWA YouTube.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Speaking of that, the 10 Pounds of Gold series that runs on YouTube for the NWA dropped this past week, and they highly detailed Cody's win at Long Beach over Juice Robinson, winning the IWGP US title. So if you get a chance, you might want to check that out. And then this coming weekend, there are 2 big shows taking place in the UK. OTT's 4th anniversary, as well as Rev Pro Global Wars. They'll be featuring a lot of New Japan talent this coming week, and both shows look like really, really good. I'm just pulling up the information here.
Yeah, I know on the Global Wars show, that's the show that's the main event's going to be Minoru Suzuki against Tomohiro Ishii for the undisputed British Heavyweight Championship.
So I'm pulling up the OTT 4th year anniversary information. I don't know if you want to pull up the card for the Rev Pro show, but this coming weekend, Sean McGuinness will be teaming with Hiroki Goto, taking on Kojima and Michael May. Other New Japan people that will be taking place. There's a match that will be taking place between Kushida and Tomohiro Ishii, which is something I really, really want to see. We also have a gender-neutral match between LJ Cleary taking on Patty M, Raven Creed, Rocky Romero, Mr. Juicy, Gino Gambino, who may or may not be part of the Bullet Club at this point. We don't know. Minoru Suzuki will be taking on Timothy Thatcher.
Yes,
that looks really, really good. And then in the main event, or actually match number 8, we have Mexa Blood, which is Bandito and Flamita, and Shane Strickland taking on LIJ, Evil Sonata, and Tetsuya Naito.
Nice.
And then in the main event, Walter, the champion of OTT, will be defending his title against Will Ospreay.
Dude, that's going to be phenomenal. I saw the last Walter Ospreay match. It was great. So I know that main event's going to be awesome. Then over on the Rev Pro side, so Global Wars, like we mentioned, October 14th.
They're only running one show this year. They usually run multiple nights, but it looks like just one night this year.
Yeah, so we have Tetsuya Naito taking on Chris Brooks. Like I mentioned, we have the British Heavyweight Championship match, Minoru Suzuki against Tomohiro Ishii. We have the British Cruiserweight Championship match with David Starr taking on Kushida. We have Hiroki Goto one-on-one with Zack Sabre Jr. And also we have Evil and Sonata of Los Ingobernables de Japón taking on Ring Kampf, which is Walter and Timothy Thatcher.
Man, both of those cards look really, really, really good. A lot of shared talent, but man, that looks really good. And then to close out the show, so there was news that dropped today that, two things. We got to talk about Being the Elite. Actually, let's talk about Being the Elite real quick. So episode 120, what'd you think?
It was a good episode. Again, they ended the show teasing that ticking noise of the countdown clock.
You know what that is, right?
Their contract.
Their contracts.
Yeah.
Also, last week when we talked about Marty being 12 minutes late, I did not pick up on the fact that they were joking about him going over his time at All In.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that either.
I've been watching Being the Elite for a long time, and this stuff, it kind of seems like they jumped the shark a little bit to me. I don't know. Like, I'm just not enjoying it as much as normal.
I guess, like, right now, it's like, where are they going? Like, they blew off, like, a lot of storylines on All In. So now it's like they're kind of, like, having, like, kind of jumpstart, like, get you back into it with new stories.
They did do the one bit with the Golden Lovers doing the press conference after the main event of King of Pro Wrestling?
Or the Fighting Spirit Unleashed.
Or was that after Fighting Spirit Unleashed?
Yeah, Kenny was wearing the Golden Lovers gear.
But I thought that they were trying to pretend like it was the end of
King of Pro Wrestling?
Wrestling.
Maybe they were.
That's what I thought it was, but maybe I'm wrong. I thought that's what they were trying to do, and then he was wearing the wrong gear and that they screwed up. I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it, but it was pretty funny because a lot of the stuff that those two guys were like criticizing him about is pretty valid stuff. And they're just making fun of it, so it's pretty funny. And then they kind of teased like Triple H trying to recruit Kenny Omega.
Right, yeah. He's like something about like, do you want to be number 4 in the Rumble? And then he's like, do you want a bigger payday? How about a match with AJ? He's like, I'll keep that in my back pocket.
So that's some funny stuff. Nothing too crazy that really stuck out to me there though. And then
Fat Ass Monster's going to NXT.
Yeah, he signed NXT. We're gonna see
that was pretty funny. He's like,
we're gonna see him on the Largo loop.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to NXT.
And then to close out the show, so that there's news that broke out this earlier today that Global Force Wrestling, the brainchild of none other than the greatest finesser,
Global Finessing Wrestling.
Oh my God! So Jeff Jarrett, they announced travel packages for Wrestle Kingdom this coming year, and there was quite a bit of controversy about this.
Yeah, so I mean, there was somebody who reached out because I guess like they tweeted out this thing about this package, and a guy that like travels to Japan a lot. His name is Louis Beecham at Louis Beach 58 on Twitter, and he responded to this travel package, and he was like, the prices are appalling. The fact that you are charging fans an extra, I'm not sure what the currency is, but it's like extra, has a word symbol, 500, to pay installments is insulting. Having been to Japan twice, I heavily recommend any fan reading this do it yourself and avoid these packages at all costs. DM me for a legit ticket link. And so they responded to him, hey Lewis, thanks for your input. We have decided to take away the 500 installment option, so now it's the same price for both. Thanks for the feedback. And then Lewis responded, you should never have charged the 500 to begin with. The fact it took you less than 10 minutes to backtrack just proves how greedy your yield was. Fans, you're all welcome to DM me for honest advice on traveling to and around Japan.
Yeah, so if you're thinking about going to Wrestle Kingdom, maybe don't go with Jeff Jarrett's group.
Yeah, do not trust Double J.
Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Keepin' It Strong Style, the ACE of podcast. Thank you guys for your questions. Thank you for your comments. And, we want to interact with you guys. So, hit us up on the message boards, on the Reddit. Take us away, Jeremy.
Yeah, so next week we'll be back at our regular time slot on Tuesday with a preview for the Super Junior Tag League, so be on the lookout for that.
And our contest.
Yes, right.
Prediction contest.
Yeah, I'll be dropping that hopefully tomorrow or Friday in New Japan Reddit and all over the place, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. I'm at Jeremy L. Donovan. Social Suplex at Social Suplex. On Facebook, we're facebook.com/Social Suplex. You can also join us in the Wrestling Squared Circle group, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. And on Reddit, I am the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can also email me, jeremy@socialsuplex.com, if you want to send in questions or you want to write for Social Suplex or be involved in any way. Make sure you're checking out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. The Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show from Scotland. The Outsider's Edge with Rance, Carl, and Kyle. And actually, I'm going to be on the Outsider's Edge this week talking about New Japan, so check that out.
I wonder why they didn't invite me. They said on the last episode they were inviting me, and then they pulled a switcheroo.
Yeah, bait and switch. I don't know. I guess they needed a big draw.
I guess so. I guess I'm just a curtain jerker. You know
they didn't want a young boy on there. They wanted a main eventer.
Apparently.
And also don't forget about our podcast dedicated to independent wrestling, Grown Men Watch This Shit, hosted by Jeremy Tate and Chris Bryant. So don't forget to subscribe, leave a rating and review. Your ratings and review help our show get over, it helps Social Suplex get over. So leave those ratings and review. And until next time, goodbye and good night. Bang.
The Western expansion is killing New Japan.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.